Chapter 745. Time and space were in chaos. Knowing destiny stepped through the realms, his body was surrounded by murderous intent. Yan Jiushi's expression changed. He immediately turned his palm and slapped at the incoming person. Evil chi spread out like waves. Knowing destiny waved his sword. Bloody light was dazzling. It had the power to split open the sky and cut the evil chi in half. Ah! A pool of blood splashed into time and space. Yan Jiushi's feet sank and his right knee fell to the ground. Since you dared to hurt her, leave your life behind. Ning Chen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. His sword aura became heavier, suppressing the evil king. Blood dripped from the corner of Yan Jiushi's mouth. He concentrated his energy and slapped at the former. You're overestimating yourself. Ning Chen did not dodge the incoming attack. He slapped down with his left palm. Frost surged as he took the evil energy head-on. With a boom, their foundations clashed. The heavily injured Yan Jiushi's mouth was dyed red again. The blood in his body surged violently. 9 evils breaking sun palm. The situation was unfavorable. Yan Jiushi condensed his vast energy again. Suddenly, the evil chi roared like crazy waves. It broke through the sky and attacked the sun. Ning Chen snorted. He turned his palm and took in chi. He activated the life scroll. In an instant, time and space were frozen. The 2 palms clashed. The sky fell and the earth fell. The shocking power continued to spread and destroyed the incoming spatial turbulence. Evil Dragon Overture, life devours the sky. Yan Jiushi reused his evil weapon. The black spear was in his hand. The dragon's soul returned to his body. Demonic patterns circled around him. His aura rose again. The black spear light broke through the sky. The dragon roared in the sky. Its power multiplied as it attacked with all its might. It was a powerful move. Wherever the evil energy passed, ice and snow melted. Everything was destroyed. Sword technique, nothingness. Ning Chen's eyes narrowed. He waved his sword. The bloody light was extremely bright. It spread rapidly and swallowed everything in sight. With a boom, the 2 weapons clashed. The powerful sword pressure destroyed everything. The evil weapon flew out of Yan Jiushi's hand. Sword technique, divine seal. After the first sword, the next one came. The brilliant sword cut through time and space. It took a life. Ah! The tip of the sword pierced through his body. His eyes were filled with blood. The plain clothes that were close to him were reflected in his eyes. This was the last scene of his life. Yan Jiushi's eyes were filled with reluctance and regret. The moment we left our world, we were already prepared to lose everything. However, this moment is the proof of our value. At the moment of his death, Yan Jiushi unleashed all of his blood chi, which turned into a death restriction and sealed off the heaven and earth. He wanted to die together with the enemy before him. Sword style, remnant red. In the blink of an eye, a red light flashed, and the tip of the sword was sharp. You! Yan Jiushi's eyes were filled with shock when he saw the red-robed silhouette. The memories of the past came back to him. He was unwilling to accept it, but more importantly, he was filled with mockery. The heretic king fell to the ground with a thud. He didn't have time to tell the truth as the turbulence engulfed his body. Ning Chen's red clothes dissipated and he returned to his original body. He looked at the beautiful figure in green outside the battlefield. His usually calm face finally couldn't hide his emotions. Sister Qing Ning. Tears flashed in Ning Chen's eyes. He had fought for a lifetime, but all he could think of was the most ordinary days of his life. He could talk with his loved ones. It was so simple, yet so difficult. A gentle smile appeared on Qing Ning's face. She walked forward and raised a hand to caress his face. She said softly, I still haven't seen you get married and have children on behalf of the Empress. You won't die so easily. Ning Chen didn't say anything. He walked forward and hugged the woman in front of him. Feeling that familiar warmth, the panic in his heart gradually calmed down. Qing Ning's expression became even gentler. She patted his back and said softly, the Wisdom Monarch is still here. Aren't you going to greet him? Only then did Ning Chen notice the seductive woman in a pink dress. He calmed himself down and let go of the person in his arms. He said, Miss Erin, the Wisdom Monarch owes you a favor this time. To be able to make the world-renowned Wisdom Monarch owe me a favor, Erin has earned it. Erin Ming Monarch smiled and replied. Erin, Qing Ning will remember this favor. I won't say any more thanks. If there's anything in the future, I'll do my best to help, Qing Ning said seriously. The Wisdom Monarch's smile became even more seductive. She looked at the Wisdom Monarch and said, Wisdom Monarch, do you still remember what I said to you before? Miss said that we would meet again, Ning Chen replied. Everyone says that the Wisdom Monarch is the crown of civil and military affairs. Today, I finally learned that after more than 10 years, young master still remembers what Erin said. I'm impressed, the Wisdom Monarch smiled. Miss Erin's talent and beauty are unparalleled. How could I not remember you? Ning Chen said politely. Young master, do you really mean what you said just now? The Wisdom Monarch took a step forward and asked softly. Sensing the faint fragrance close by, Ning Chen subconsciously frowned. He then calmed down and said calmly, I never go back on my words. Good. Erin Ming Monarch smiled and took a step back, saying, protect me until I become a supreme. The fourth realm? Ning Chen frowned as he spoke. What, am I making things difficult for you? The Wisdom Monarch smiled. Miss Erin, do you really believe that there are fourth realm cultivators in the world? Ning Chen said seriously. Ho Tian, Xian Tian, treading immortal. Don't we all have doubts before we truly step into those realms? There's no end to the path of cultivation. We've always been frogs at the bottom of a well. All we can see is the sky in our hearts, the Wisdom Monarch replied. Ning Chen was silent for a long time before saying, Miss Erin, do you really believe that I have the ability to protect you? To tell you the truth, I might very well be stuck at the peak realm for the rest of my life. I believe young master, just like I believe that I can reach the fourth realm. Young master can already fight true realm cultivators. Just one more step and you'll be unrivaled. Erin has never misjudged people. Not in the past, and not in the future. Ning Chen sighed. Since Miss Erin trusts me so much, I won't refuse. However, since you cultivate both Buddhism and the devil, you'll definitely have to sever one of them in the future. The Wisdom Monarch's smile faded. If I become a Buddha, I'll be merciful. If I become a devil, I'll slaughter the world. Ning Chen was startled. For the first time, he felt a trace of fear towards Buddha Mountain's current Buddhist lady. He wasn't joking just now. He believed she could do what she said. Seeing the tense atmosphere, Qing Ning asked, Ning Chen, where are Ruo Shi and Yin Er? I heard they came with you. Ning Chen recovered and replied, Yin Er left the ancient path to the heavenly word planet's Li family village to fulfill her promise. Ruo Shi just left the space-time turbulence and is with Wu Lei and Ji Yuqing. Ji Yuqing? Spirit Void's daughter? Qing Ning narrowed her eyes. Yes. Ning Chen nodded. A strange light flashed in Qing Ning's eyes, but she didn't ask any more questions. Erin was also here, so some things were better left unasked. Let's go out first. Qing Ning gathered her thoughts. Ning Chen nodded slightly and walked in front, leading the two of them forward. At the same time, countless spaces away, the sound of battle was still endless. Reverend Baiyu blocked Di Mingtian's path, and every move he made was powerful enough to shake the sun and moon. Di Mingtian was seriously injured by Ji Ming's attack. He was gradually at a disadvantage in the battle. Reverend Bayou saw this and his attacks became fiercer. He used all his cultivation, and his slender hands turned into 100 chains. Forbidden Dark Seal, 6 Sins Annihilation. Di Mingtian's injuries were getting worse, and he couldn't fight for a long time. He raised his right hand and forced his true yuan. In an instant, the sun, moon, and stars appeared in his eyes. Space-time sank, and everything was turned to ashes. Ugh! Reverend Bayou took the attack, and with a grunt, he retreated a few feet. Retreat! Di Mingtian took a step and quickly disappeared into the turbulence. Reverend Bayou chased after him, but he had already lost track of him. This is troublesome. Reverend Bayou's eyes flashed. This person's cultivation and combat strength were extremely terrifying. If it wasn't for the help of that swordsman, she wouldn't have been able to force him to this point. Now that he had escaped, the next time they met would be difficult to predict. After thinking for a moment, Reverend Bayou collected her thoughts and disappeared. Half a month later, at the end of the turbulence, a sword light broke through the boundary of space. 3 figures walked out. When they saw the scene in front of them, they were shocked. In front of them, meteors kept falling. It was like the end of the world. There was no sign of life. Oh no! Ning Chen's divine sense swept over, and his heart sank. Ruo Shi and Wu Lei came out before them, but there was no trace of them. Could it be that they had encountered some danger? Don't worry too much. Those 2 girls aren't the same as before. They should be able to protect themselves. Moreover, the Clear Prince is with them. Since the Ji family allowed Ji Yuqing to come alone, she must have some special means that we don't know about, Qing Ning said softly. Yes. Ning Chen nodded, and his expression relaxed a little. However, he was still worried. He hoped that nothing would happen to those 2 girls. We're not far from the ancient battlefield. Let's hurry, said Empress Erin. Ning Chen and Qing Ning nodded, and the 3 of them entered the fire domain. As soon as they stepped in, waves of unbearable heat hit them from all directions. Seeing this, Ning Chen's expression turned serious. He stepped forward, and ice and snow covered the sky. Frost surged in the wind and waves, blocking the waves of fire. This place is harmful to your cultivation. Let's leave quickly. Ning Chen said. He waved his hand, and a blood-red light rose. He opened a path with his sword. The wind and snow swept past, and the 3 of them immediately disappeared. They rushed into the depths of the fire domain. Not long after the 3 of them left, a moonlight rose in the turbulence behind them. A passage through the turbulence appeared, guiding the young experts out of their predicament. A few days later, several figures walked out. After being trapped for several months, they all looked exhausted. Thank you for saving us, Reverend. Everyone looked at the woman in the moonlight dress in the sky and bowed respectfully. Get up. Since you're all out, continue on your journey. The ancient battlefield is not far from here. However, the remaining part of the journey will be dangerous. It's not too late to leave now. Take care of yourselves. As she spoke, Reverend Bayou's figure faded and merged into the void, disappearing without a trace. The young experts looked forward, and their expressions turned serious. It was not easy to get to this point, and they could not give up. No matter what, they had to find the ancient battlefield. Chapter 746. Within the meteor fire domain, giant meteors fell one after another, blazing with fiery light. The terrifying Forbidden Land blocked the path to the ancient battlefield. Within the fire domain, Sui quickly moved forward. With a sword in hand, wind and snow split open the sky, cutting through all obstacles. 10,000 miles behind her, figures flashed past. The geniuses of the younger generation were rushing over, wanting to fight for the final victory. Among the young experts, there were a few whose auras were exceptionally obvious. They were ranked among the 9 kings, and their pressure far exceeded that of ordinary people. The rumbling ahead was astonishing. The king's expressions became serious, and they sped up. Someone had taken the lead, so they couldn't delay. Everyone sped up, but the figure 10,000 miles ahead was increasingly out of reach. The heaven-breaking sword light broke through all obstacles, shaking the starry sky. Who is that? The young experts were shocked. When did such a powerful swordsman appear on the ancient path? While everyone was shocked, miserable cries suddenly rang out. The falling meteors turned into a fiery meteor rain, turning the surrounding thousands of miles into hell. Not good. Seeing the sudden increase in meteors, everyone condensed their true essence to block the heavenly might. The rumbling shook violently, and flames filled the sky. After a momentary stalemate, the fiery meteor rain broke through the barrier and fell from the sky. In an instant, miserable cries shook the sky. Hundreds of figures exploded, and blood and bones scattered across the forbidden land. Let's go. Seeing that the situation was hopeless, dozens of figures rushed out, using their blood as their origin to quickly advance. 10,000 miles away, an even more terrifying meteor rain fell. Su-yi brought the two of them through it, and their speed became even more astonishing. Sword technique, nothingness. The sword was nothingness, swallowing everything. Boundless sword light shook heaven and earth, and an unparalleled sword aura surged out. Heaven and earth turned into primal chaos. Within the waves of fire, wind and snow soared into the sky, opening the path to the heavens once more. Su-yi's body was covered in snow as she brought the two girls out of the forbidden land of the fire domain. Heavenly Pillar. The stone pillar that towered into the starry sky was simple and majestic. Compared to the 79 heavenly pillars from before, there were far fewer names on it. However, those who had carved their names down had already become famous thousands of years ago. Wu-lei and the others didn't come. Ning Chen took a look and his expression darkened. Where did these two girls go? There's no point in panicking now. Trust them. You can't protect them forever. Let's finish what we can first, then think of a way to find them, Qing Ning said. Ning Chen nodded, suppressing the uneasiness in his heart. This was the only way. Does young master want to leave his name? Erin Ming Wang stepped forward and engraved her name. Stay. A strange light flashed and Ning Chen's original appearance was restored. He stepped forward and looked at the heavenly pillar. Then, he put his fingers together and carved his name. At the same time, on the ancient roads of the various major star fields, the various star field managers were shocked as they looked in the direction of the 80th heaven pillar. The 9th son of Mo Gate? How was this possible? At the bottom of Duanheng Mountain, a powerful figure rushed out from the boiling magma. Lord Ling Su, who was unable to suppress his anger, looked into the distance with murderous intent. Mo Gate's 9th son hadn't died. It turned out that everyone had been deceived by him. It's him. 10,000 miles away, Ziwei, Lingxiu, and Ning Qiong's expressions darkened as well. This was going to be troublesome. At the same time, in a majestic palace far away, numerous figures condensed. Mo Gate's 9th son had reappeared. Everyone, you've all received the news, right? Asked Lord Skymist. Yes. The various sovereigns nodded. All heavens, what's going on? Didn't Mo Gate's 9th son already die at your hands? Asked Lord Ling Su. I still don't know the truth. The All Heavens sovereign's expression was cold. Let's think of a way to deal with this first. Since he hasn't died, no one can compete with him. Why can't we let him open the ancient battlefield? Asked the Waning Moon Pavilion's master. If he's not the chosen one, how can he open the ancient battlefield? Is the pavilion master not worried that he'll kill anyone who might be able to open it? Asked Lord Ziwei. There can only be one chosen one. Once he dies, who knows how many more years we'll have to wait. There's no turning back. We have to kill him before they reach the ancient battlefield, said the All Heavens Sovereign. Impossible. Shen Ji sneered. Mo Gate's 9 sons have already passed the flame realm and are very close to the ancient battlefield. Even if we move now, we won't make it in time. What about Reverend Baiyue? Why hasn't she appeared? Asked Lord Skymist. The various sovereigns fell silent. Baiyue's temperament was unfathomable, and no one knew what she was thinking. Time is of the essence. Right now, only Baiyue is closest to him. Immediately notify her to stop him, said Lord Skymist. Can she stop him by herself? Asked the Waning Moon Pavilion's master. We have to stop him even if we can't. Our 100-year plan can't be ruined by him, said Lord Skymist. All heavens, Ing Cheong, and I will do our best to help. Lord Ling Su, Waning Moon Pavilion's master, you should hurry over as well, said Lord Ziwei. Yes. Lord Ling Su nodded. Everyone, we've been planning for 100 years. Success or failure is right before our eyes. No matter what, we can't let anyone threaten our plan, emphasized Lord Skymist. Understood. The various sovereigns nodded and scattered, returning to their original bodies. In front of the 80th pillar, Ning Chen, who had returned to his original appearance, looked back into the distance. The coldness in his eyes was not concealed at all. Young master, are you not going to hide your identity anymore? Asked Ai Ran with a slight smile. There's no need. Previously, I hid my identity to make things easier. Now that I've achieved my goal, I might have unexpected gains by returning to my original appearance, said Ning Chen calmly. Oh. A strange light flashed through Ai Ran's eyes. What was he scheming again? Mo Gate's 9th disciple, I've long heard of your name. Today, I finally meet you. At this moment, the wind and clouds in the sky began to gather. Amidst the boundless pressure, a woman in a moon-white dress descended from the sky. She was like a fairy from the Moon Palace descending to the mortal world, stunning everyone. She descended to the world. Without saying anything, Baiyue flipped her palm and slammed it towards the plainclothed figure in front of the pillar. Seeing this, Ning Chen did not dodge. He flipped his palm and condensed his yuan to meet the attack. The collision of two extremes shook the heavens and the earth. Unparalleled cultivation and peerless foundation collided head-on. Boundless might soared into the sky and shook the stars. It's rumored that Mo Gate's 9th disciple's sword arts are world-shocking, but his foundation is ordinary. Today, I see how ignorant the world is. Reverend Baiyue said softly. He increased the power of his palm essence and the two of them clashed right in front of each other, shaking the sky. Venerate, when you encountered an enemy in the chaotic flows, I was the one who helped you. Is this how you repay this favor? Sneered Ning Chen. His body was covered in snow, and his palm could split the heavens and split the seas. With his peerless foundation, he did not fear the world. You really are naive to talk about principles with a woman. After exchanging several moves, Venerate Baiyue could tell that 70% of his qi had succeeded. He had condensed qi into a whip, and a heaven-shaking battle was about to begin. Ning Chen's figure was like an illusion as he dodged the energy. After taking several steps, he turned back and condensed his yuan into a palm, slamming it towards Baiyue's heart. After a short exchange, the ground in front of the 80th pillar collapsed. The pillar that had withstood the shockwaves of the battle collapsed, sending rubble flying into the sky. Qing Ning and Ai Ran immediately retreated, avoiding the falling rubble. With such ability, you have already surpassed Mo Gate's master. It seems like Mo Gate master's death is related to you. Venerate Baiyue's palm shook the surrounding area. The more he pushed, the more powerful it became. Venerate Baiyue condensed an 80% successful physique, and faced the power of the wind and snow head-on. Rumbling sounds could be heard as the power destroyed the terrain within 1,000 miles. An indescribable destructive power spread out continuously, sweeping up sand and splitting rocks. Could it be that all the venerates like to meddle in other people's affairs? Or is it because of your self-proclaimed righteousness that you feel superior to others? Ning Chen snorted coldly, and with a flip of his palm, he shook off the shockwaves. He took a step forward, and a majestic heavenly might rapidly coiled around him. The wind and snow turned into a heavenly waterfall. 12 spiritual styles, splitting the sea and splitting the flood. Venerate Bayue's expression turned serious as he used his ultimate move. Moonlight fell from the sky, and 1,000 caddies converged, breaking through the sea. When the two moves collided, the starry sky shook, and a destructive power surged out, instantly shaking the battle. 12 spiritual styles, sky-raising waterfall. One move was followed by another. Venerate Bayue's figure stabilized, and his slender hand gathered spiritual source within 1,000 miles. Rolling waves poured down from the sky. Venerate Bayue came from afar, how can I not let you return with pleasure? Seeing the shocking move descending, Ning Qin said coldly, and did not retreat. Blood mist spread out from his body, and amidst the flowing lights, the symbiotic sword appeared. The moment he held the sword, the clouds broke through the sky. Sword technique, Dragon Sparrow transformation. For Symbol's divine seal, the sword's power was shocking, and the dragon's roar and the sparrow's cry broke through the sky. Rumbling sounds could be heard as the sword and palm disappeared. White clothes flashed past, and the sword's light reflected the moon. The sword cut through the waves of sand, chasing after souls and taking lives. Is this your sword? Shen Ji and the others were not lying, and it deserves a shocking evaluation. Venerate Bayue flipped his palm and caught the sword. His spiritual source surged, and he used his unparalleled cultivation to block the sword. The moment they collided, the universe shook, and pieces of the void collapsed, unable to withstand the terrifying power. I am fully deserving of this praise. Ning Chen's footsteps changed again, and the sword's edge was sharp. Absolute speed, absolute sword power, one sword to break through the sky, the only sword in the world. 12 spirit styles, invincible, sky soul burial. The sword's edge attacked, and Venerate Bayue raised his aura. His body was surrounded by the moonlight of the 9 heavens, and the power of the stars was added to the power of his palm. One palm to bury the sky, and 10,000 souls to mourn. The two shocking moves collided with a loud bang, and the destructive power backfired on both of them. However, the two of them who were at the peak of their power, did not show any weakness in their moves. When they collided again, their battle intent became stronger. For Symbol's divine seal, Dragon Phoenix Burial. Not wanting to fight for a long time, Ning Qin used all of his spiritual source, and the Azure Dragon's blood essence to boost it. The dragon and the phoenix intertwined, and the sword shot out. The sword's power became stronger, and Venerate Bayue's expression became more serious. His hands gathered the spiritual source around his body, and the power of the stars, and turned it into 100 rivers, and condensed it into a heaven's primordial energy. 12 spirit styles, chaotic extreme. The vast primordial energy swallowed the sky and destroyed the earth. The moonlight sprinkled down, and the moon's white brilliance filled the eyes. The fairies in the mortal world used all of their abilities to meet the only sword in the world. The sword and palm collided, and an extremely dazzling aurora rumbled, destroying everything in sight. The power was shocking. Drip. Suddenly, a dazzling red dyed the flawless white. In the falling red, the battle situation was clear. Chapter 747. At the end of the ancient path, a world-shaking battle was taking place. The fairies of the mortal world blocked the only sword in the world. After the peak, a dazzling scarlet color flew up in the wind. The matchless battle gradually became clear. Bayu's left shoulder was pierced by the sword by an inch. Blood dripped from the wound. It was the first time he was injured. I can't stop you. You can leave. Bayu took half a step back and his sword left his body. He looked at the plain-clothed young man. Thank you. Ning Qin waved his hand and put away his sword. He didn't say anything else and left. They're coming. Take care of yourself. Bayu calmly reminded him. I'll wait for them to come. Ning Chen stopped and said. Then, he continued to walk forward. 100 miles away, Ai ran and Qing Ning saw him and followed him. Did you win? Asked Qing Ning softly. I haven't used up all my moves. It's hard to say who won or lost. Ning Chen replied. Although the woman's moves were fierce, there wasn't much killing intent. It was more like she was just doing it. It seemed that the sovereigns weren't united. They all had their own plans. Now, he only needed to find the last pillar to find the ancient battlefield. However, from the attitude of the sovereigns, it wasn't easy to open the ancient battlefield. If opening the ancient battlefield required great strength, the sovereigns didn't need to stop him. They were sure that he wasn't the one who could open the ancient battlefield. Excluding the factor of strength, there was only one possibility. The sovereigns weren't sure who this person was. Therefore, they were worried that his existence would destroy their hope of opening the ancient battlefield. Ning Chen gathered his thoughts and looked into the distance. He had to obtain the time restriction. No one could stop him. The sovereigns and the heavens were the same. Behind him, the sovereigns were moving faster and faster. They wanted to reach the ancient battlefield as soon as possible. At the same time, in the meteor shower, many young figures also sped up, trying their best to make it through. Ning Chen led the two of them at the front. Light flashed and the world changed. Mountains and rivers were left behind. We're here. After traveling for 10,000 miles, Baiyu stopped and looked at the mountain range in front of her. The last pillar stood above the mountain range. It was incomparably majestic. Go! She took a step forward and soared into the air, flying towards the peak of the mountain range. Qing Ning and Aaron Ming Wang followed behind, their robes fluttering in the wind. The heavenly pillar was right in front of him. At this moment, the clouds in the sky churned as a gigantic palm descended from the sky, pressing down with a terrifying might. The sovereigns joined hands, passing through the restrictions of time and space to stop Mo Gate's ninth disciple. You want to stop me even though your main body hasn't arrived? Where does your confidence come from? Looking at the huge palm pressing down from the sky, Ning Chen's expression turned cold. The sword in his hand transformed into a sword and slashed out to meet the attack. The sword pierced through the heavens, shaking the heavens and resounding through the universe. The giant palm collapsed and dissipated between heaven and earth. Ninth son of Mo Gate, when we personally arrive, it will be time for you to pay with your life. The clouds dispersed, and the voices of the venerables also disappeared. Originally, there were no grudges between them, but because of the conflict of interest, they became mortal enemies, and there was no turning back. I'll be waiting for you. Ning Chen coldly replied. He stepped forward, flying towards the peak of the mountain range. In front of the 81st pillar, Ning Chen placed his fingers together to carve a name. The instant he did so, the entire mountain range began to rumble. The image of the absolute beginning appeared in the world. Boundless light and primal chaos were born. An aura that seemed to originate from the primordial era rapidly awakened. An army of 1,000,000 appeared in the sky, their ancient battle robes piercingly cold. Ning Chen narrowed his eyes. Was this the reflection of the ancient battlefield? He had already arrived at the battlefield. But how should he activate it? Qing Ning and Aaron Ming Wang stood behind him, not interrupting his thoughts. After pondering for a moment, Ning Chen's body shone with a bright red light. The image of a phoenix appeared in the sky. Both of them appeared at the same time, forming imprints that sealed the yellow springs, turning everything within 100 miles into a divine forbidden world. Space was sealed, making it difficult for even gods and ghosts to pass through. Not long after the divine forbidden world was activated, hundreds of figures arrived outside the mountain range. That's... At the peak of a distant mountain, a familiar figure appeared. The expressions of the young experts changed. It was Mo Gate's ninth son. Oh. Are they all here? At the peak of the mountain, Ning Chen looked coldly at the young experts who were rushing over from afar. He then looked away and continued to look at the reflection of the ancient battlefield in front of the pillar. The 5 kings focused. One of them walked out. It was Qin Bai, whom he had met in Green Lotus City. He unsheathed his famed sword, and a curved heavenly sword appeared. A cold light broke through the sky and slashed toward the figure on the peak of the mountain. The murderous light reflected on the moon. The king's sword was famous. With a boom, the divine forbidden world appeared. The sword light shattered, unable to pass through the lightning pool. Forbidden world. Qin Bai's face turned cold. For it to be able to block his attacks so easily, the forbidden world was not ordinary. Let's work together. Otherwise, none of us will stand a chance. Qin Bai looked at the other 4 kings and spoke in a low voice. Sure. The 4 kings looked serious as they nodded in agreement. As soon as they spoke, the 5 kings gathered their qi and power. Vast vital essence surged and condensed into one. The power that could overturn mountains and seas crashed into the spatial forbidden world in front of them. The extreme powers collided, and the sky and earth shook. The Yellow Springs divine forbidden world flickered, and the 5 kings combined their attacks. Huh! The 5 kings' faces darkened. They raised their vital essence again. Rolling spiritual qi gathered from all directions. It was a shocking power that affected the sky and the earth. It frightened even gods and ghosts. Behind them, the young strong cultivators saw what was happening and also used their vital essence. Hundreds of rivers converged to break the spatial forbidden world. Aaron and I will stop them, Qing Ning said softly. No need. Ning Chen replied. He clenched his right hand, and Zhu Xian appeared. Boundless murderous aura surrounded him. He slashed with the sword, and its ferocious power could kill immortals. The sword broke through the void and flew out of the divine forbidden world. It crashed into the combined attacks of the strong cultivators. With a shocking sound, the Zhu Xian sword light broke through the deadlock. Its frightening power spread out and pierced into the bodies of the 5 kings. Arg! There were several muffled groans, and blood splattered. The sword shocked the world and defeated the strong cultivators. It looks like we don't need to do anything. In the distance, many figures walked out. They wore black cloaks, black robes, white sword robes. One after another, their auras were sharp. They were many times more powerful than before. On the ancient road, they had fought for several years. The once peerless geniuses had made further progress and reached a new peak. In the confrontation between the inner world and the outer world, the inner world is destined to win, the handsome man in the black cloak said lightly. We can't be careless now. After all, the star venerables of the other regions haven't shown up yet, a woman in a light yellow dress said from behind. Miss, you really look like an old friend of mine, the man in the black cloak said with a sigh. Fan Lingyue. He also mentioned this woman, but... Qi Yanxia looked at the mountain peak in the distance. Her eyes flashed, and she said calmly, I'm not her. Chapter 748. All the experts gathered in front of the mountain where the 81st sky pillar stood. They looked at the figure on the mountain peak in the distance with heavy expressions. It was an unshakable peak, but they couldn't pass the sky barrier even if they worked together. The 5 injured kings barely stabilized their bodies. Each of them had an ugly expression. They had fought all the way and looked down on the starry sky. They didn't expect that they would be defeated so thoroughly today. On the mountain peak, Ning Chen retracted his gaze and looked at the great battle of the ancient era. Light flashed in his eyes. The moon in the water was indeed not real. However, since the scene of the ancient battlefield could appear here, there must be a way to open it. Time passed. Figures walked out of the meteor fire region one after another. Their auras were shocking. After an instant, they disappeared again. The ancient road changed. All the venerables gathered and rushed to the Heaven's Choice Peak where the 81st sky pillar was. Not good. Sensing the flames of war in the distance, the expressions of Venerable Ling Su and the others changed slightly. They stepped into the void and moved forward quickly. Su Yi stood quietly on the Heaven's Choice Peak. Her thoughts flashed continuously as she searched for a way to open the ancient battlefield. In front of the Heaven's Choice Peak, many young experts were blocked by divine restrictions and couldn't get close. Not far from the young experts, several young people stood quietly and also looked at the situation on the mountain peak. Why hasn't Ning Chen opened the ancient battlefield? Luo Xingqian asked. It's not that he doesn't want to open it, but that he can't. Jian Er's expression was solemn. According to the attitude of the venerables and the current situation, the key to opening the ancient battlefield might not be strength, but the choice of the heavens. Zhi Ming definitely won't be recognized by the heavens. Then what should we do? Luo Xingqian's expression sank. Wait. The sword intent said. On the Heaven's Choice Peak, Su Yi stood quietly for a long time. In front of the sky pillar where she had carved her name, the ancient battlefield's reflection became more and more intense. Sister Qing Ning, Miss Ai Ran, give it a try. After thinking for a long time, Ning Chen looked back at the two behind him and said softly. Hearing this, Qing Ning and Ai Ran nodded and stepped forward to engrave their names. After a moment of silence, the 81st sky pillar started to shake. The ancient battlefield's reflection changed, and corpses were everywhere. When Ning Chen saw this, he was shocked. He looked at the two of them and a terrifying thought grew in his heart. It was difficult for him to suppress it. What's wrong? Qing Ning asked in confusion. I'm fine. Ning Chen suppressed the throbbing in his heart and forced a smile. I'm thinking of something. After saying that, Ning Chen looked at the reflection in front of him again. The ominous feeling in his heart was getting stronger and stronger. It was not because of the opening of the ancient battlefield, but because of the changes in the ancient battlefield after Qing Ning and Aaron Ming Wang carved their names. When he carved his name, war and slaughter began in the reflection of the ancient battlefield. This was not strange. However, Qing Ning and Ai Ran were both Lady Buddhas. Why would there be a scene of destruction with corpses everywhere? Was he overthinking things? At this moment, Ning Chen's expression suddenly changed as he looked into the distance. They were here. However, at this moment, in the distant sky, floating clouds obstructed one's eyes as brilliant light descended from the heavens. 5 extremely powerful figures slowly descended, and their imposing auras were peerlessly majestic as they sunk down for thousands of miles. This scene shocked everyone. The 5-star sector sovereigns had all arrived, and their pressure was as deep as a bottomless abyss. 9th son of Mo Gate, immediately opened the restriction. Otherwise, prepare to be punished, Lord Ling Su said coldly. Punished? Who gave you the right and confidence? Ning Chen's expression was cold as he replied. Stubborn. Everyone, make your move. After saying that, the 5-star sector sovereigns moved at the same time. Spiritual chi filled the sky as they rushed toward the peak of heaven's chosen. Sorry, sovereigns, you can't go there. At this moment, not far away, several figures flashed and blocked the front. The 3 in the lead had extremely powerful auras. Their extremely sharp killing intent made people feel cold all over. Seeing the several figures blocking the front, the 5-star sector sovereign's expressions sank. It turned out that those unknown experts on the ancient road were related to Mo Gate's 9th son. Amitba. A Buddhist chant rang out. In the distance, a young monk in white walked over. He looked to be about 20 years old, but his Buddhist energy was extremely pure, not the slightest bit inferior to any king. The Arhat has also come. On the mountain peak, Ai Ran's lips curved slightly. She took a step forward and descended the mountain. Sir, remember your promise. Ai Ran will block this calamity for you. As soon as she finished speaking, she landed in front of the white-robed young monk. Arhat, I've chosen my Tao protector, said Ai Ran with a smile. Is it him? Then I bless you. The Arhat glanced at the mountain peak. I need your strength. The smile on Ai Ran's face gradually faded as she said calmly. The Arhat was silent for a moment. A moment later, he said, if you become a Buddha, I am willing to help you. But if you become a devil, I will personally convert you. As he spoke, the Arhat's body shone brightly with golden light. His figure dissipated, transforming into specks of Buddhist energy that entered Ai Ran's body. This is, above the void, Sovereign Ziwei's expression shook. A dual Buddhist and devil cultivator. In front of everyone's eyes, the fusion of Buddha and devil caused the clouds to change. A terrifying pillar soared into the sky. In an instant, the limits of the heavens shook. Ai Ran Ming Wang. On the mountain peak, Ning Chen couldn't hide his shock. He had always felt that this woman was extraordinary, but now it seemed that he had still underestimated her. Below the mountain peak, the Buddhist and devil cultivators were in the most extreme opposition. Her eyes opened and closed, and waves of golden-red blood spread out. The might of Buddha and devil surged, shocking the 9 heavens. As the Arhat's power entered, the Buddhist will behind Ai Ran turned golden-red. The Ming Wang turned into a Buddha and devil. Her golden eyes had a hint of blood red, looking extremely demonic. Devil Buddha 6 paths, Brahma ghost life and death. The Buddha and devil opened the path to hell, and reincarnation appeared at the Yellow Springs crossing. Ai Ran gathered energy, and waves of Buddha and devil surged with destructive power. The heavens shook and the earth shook. Everything within 100 miles was instantly overturned. It was a shocking scene, as if doomsday had arrived once again. The 5 of them focused and gathered their true yuan. They flipped their palms to block the waves of Buddha and devil. On the mountain peak, Qing Ning saw this and stepped forward. The green divine spear in her hand flourished with lotus aura. She supported the Buddha and her spear descended. Devil sword, reincarnation. On the other side, Xia Zi also activated his devil qi. He stabbed his devil sword into the ground, and 10,000 swords surged. He supported the devil and broke through the sky. Similarly terrifying attacks came from 3 different directions, converging and surging, tearing mountains apart. You overestimate yourself. The 2 sovereigns, Lingxiu and Ziwei, pushed their palms further and took half a step forward. They released their martial arts and dispersed the attacks of the 3. Myriad heavens, Ying Qiong, and Dawn Moon Tower Master flew out. They didn't care about the battle behind them and rushed forward. Scroll of the Moon, Silent Moonfall. In an instant, the wind rose and the moonlight spread. In an instant, the wind stopped, the sounds stopped, the flowers stopped fragrant, and the birds stopped chirping. The sword realm was activated, and the cold edge was fatal as it slashed towards one of the sovereigns. Imperial Celestial Scripture, Dazzling Star River. In the mountain river realm, the Empress opened the sky with her palm. Qi pierced through the sky, and she activated her martial arts to attack another sovereign. Outside the battle, the young man in purple stood quietly. He drew his star mark bow, and there was no time to rest. The green arrow light was like rain that sealed souls. The 3 sovereigns came back to their senses and immediately condensed their essence to block the attack. In a loud explosion, Dawn Moon rushed out. When the sword realm blocked the attack, a voice came from afar. The sword realm immediately changed direction and let the attack pass. Dawn Moon Tower Master flew to the peak of the mountain. In front of the divine restriction, she slapped down and shattered the heavenly moat. Dawn Moon Tower Master, long time no see. On the peak of the mountain, Ning Chen spoke calmly. No need to say so much. Let's settle this with a move. Dawn Moon Tower Master said indifferently. She clenched her right hand, and the underworld divine weapon appeared. It was dazzling and dazzling. That's good. Ning Chen waved his hand, and two immortal swords appeared. With a clang, they trapped immortals. The sky was filled with red light. The forbidden area was filled with killing intent. A moment later, Bai Yi flew out, the immortal slaying soaring flower, the most powerful immortal sword, the most powerful martial Marquis, the most powerful martial spirit. Dawn Moon Tower Master blocked the immortal sword with her spear. The heavenly soul in her left hand turned into flowing light and shot towards the hand holding the sword. Nian Qing. The heavenly soul played the sound of underworld. At the moment of danger, a blade appeared in Ning Chen's left hand. Purple gas surrounded it, and the faith of all living beings surged, blocking the sound of underworld. It's been a long time, and you're even more capable than before. Dawn Moon Tower Master said softly. Her feet turned, and the heavenly soul bound the spear. The 100 breaths of underworld flew out without any pattern. Ning Chen waved his sword to block the 100 breaths of underworld. However, there was always a gap. A breath of underworld passed through, bringing out a dazzling waterfall of blood. Although he was injured for the first time, Ning Chen did not retreat at all. He changed the direction of his blade, and a brilliant blue light rose. The ultimate move whistled through the air. With a light step, Dawn Moon Tower Master retreated to the front of the heavenly pillar. She glanced over and immediately turned back. She held her spear and pierced through the sky. The light of the spear arrived, and Ning Chen dodged to the side. The immortal sword turned around, and the sharp sword chi broke out. It was ruthless. In this shocking situation, no one showed any mercy. In front of the peak, the four venerables saw the situation and calmed down, focusing on dealing with the trouble in front of them. Who are you? Lingshu and Crepe Myrtle blocked one sword light after another. Their expressions were incomparably cold as they asked in a deep voice. Go to hell and ask Yama. He will tell you everything. The Emperor and the swordsman's figures crossed each other. Each sword was faster than the previous, and each sword was heavier than the previous. On the other side, Wisdom King AI ran activated the power of Buddha and Demon. The power of mutual promotion and suppression filled the world. The laws were in chaos, and everything collapsed. Evil 6 dust, lust confuses the sky. The demon technique appeared, and the demon sword followed suit. The demon sword soared into the sky, and its form changed. The Emperor of Demons reappeared as an unparalleled demon weapon. Demon sword, bury the heavens. The sword buried the heavens, and everything was destroyed. Wherever the sword light passed, the void shattered, and nothing was left intact. There was a move within a move. Venerable Lingshu gathered his chi, and his palm met the sword light. In the rumbling, he took 2 steps forward. Venerable Crepe Myrtle saw the gap and stepped forward. He raised his hand and slapped the demon sword's chest. One sword, 10,000 calamities. The crisis was imminent. Sword 2 followed, and his sword broke the sky, and slashed at the star domain Venerable. Despicable. When the sword light arrived, Venerable Crepe Myrtle's palm was forced to change direction. With a bang, his palm shattered the incoming sword light. Chapter 749. Heaven's Choice Mountain Range. In order to kill the son of the Mahist sect, all the supremacies from the major star regions came together. The geniuses from the inner world blocked the way. Their swords shone brightly, not allowing the supremacies to take even half a step forward. The shocking battle was beyond imagination. The 5 kings were shocked. For the first time, they felt how insignificant their existence was before the peak. Demonic Buddha 6 Tribulations, Chaotic True Flame. The battle reached its climax. Aaron Ming King refined the Buddha and demonic dual elements around her. The forces of mutual promotion and restraint collided violently. The demonic flame and Buddha fire converged, and the golden red true flame appeared. Supremacy Z Wei's palm slapped. Purple gas lingered and blocked the demonic flame. After a moment of stalemate, the purple gas broke through the true flame and swept forward. Sword form, formless sword. After the palm passed, Bai waved his sword. The broken sword continued its sharpness. An absolutely concentrated sword broke through the purple gas and turned it into nothing. Demonic form, heaven-burning demonic flame. The sword form broke through the move, and the demonic form followed. The demonic flame of doomsday in the sovereign's hand roared out. The old force had been exhausted, and the new force had yet to be born. Supremacy Ziwei was in danger. Supremacy Ling Su stepped forward and refined the sky into flames. A green fire wave rushed out and blocked the incoming demonic flame. With a violent tremor, the sea of fire surged. In the flames, the clear sky lotus bloomed. The green spear absorbed the remaining true flame in the air. The heavenly dragon appeared and broke through the city. Supremacy Ling Su took half a step back and waved his hand to disperse the incoming move. The stalemate between the two supremacies was so intense that it was shocking. The four of them trapped the two supremacies. Even though they were in the true realm, it was difficult for them to take half a step forward. On the other side, Yingqiong and myriad heavens were obstructed at the same time. The mountain river sword realm had no gaps to break through. The snow sword moved the mountains and rivers and waterfalls. Qi Yan's multicolored energy combined with the Emperor's celestial scripture. The power of thunder and lightning directly confronted the two venerables. Outside the battle, Luofei activated the moon scroll and sealed the two supremacies with the power of space. Not far away, the falling star's bow was bent. The dazzling arrow light locked onto the two supremacies' vital points. The tacit cooperation had no flaws. The two supremacies were shocked. They had never thought that there were so many young powerhouses in the world that could shake them. At the same time, on the Tian Xian mountain, the focus of the battle, Zhi Ming was fighting the house master of the Dawn Moon Tower alone. The first echo of the Yellow Springs. The divine weapons clashed, and the aftershocks shook the area. The Dawn Moon House mistress narrowed her eyes and waved the Tianhun silk in her hand. In an instant, an invisible sound wave spread out, and a frightening and destructive pressure appeared. Everywhere it passed, the mountains collapsed and collapsed. Ning Chen's expression hardened as the Xuanin's voice came right at him. In his remembrance, the faith of all living beings surged out and turned into a barrier in front of him. With a rumbling sound, the remaining force shook, and the battle was separated. 7 Rulings of the Yellow Springs, Judgment of the Third Night. The Dawn Moon Tower mistress stopped, and the heavenly soul thread in her hand moved again. The mysterious sound was like a wave, and the King of Hell received the order. The horrifying pressure spread out, and attacked the former again. Earth Scroll, 1000 Earth Revolutions. The mysterious sound was unpredictable, and it was difficult for divine weapons to block it. Ning Chen gathered his energy and put his palm into the ground. Immediately, the ground rumbled and protruded from the middle, blocking the two of them. As the sound waves passed, the earth collapsed. Amidst the raging waves of dust and sand, Bai swept past. Zhu Xian broke through the air, and the sword light was 1,000 zhang long. Imperial Qi vast sky. The sword light arrived, and the killing intent approached. The Dawn Moon Tower mistress held the Yellow Springs, and the blade of her spear changed. Amidst the dazzling green light, the spear broke the sword with one strike. The Dawn Moon Tower mistress is worthy of being the number one person in the world. Ning Chen squinted his eyes and said calmly. You flatter me. You're just a narrow-minded businessman. As soon as she finished speaking, the silver-gray cloak fluttered in the wind. In an instant, the Dawn Moon Tower disappeared and reappeared. The Yellow Springs crossed the mountains and rivers. The divine weapons collided, and it was like the end of the world. On Tian Xian Peak, rocks flew everywhere, and the mountains sank hundreds of zhang. In this difficult battle, neither of them could gain the upper hand. Weapons crossed, and the sky fell and the earth was destroyed. The Dawn Moon Tower mistress can't capture him. In the distant battle, Honorable Ziwei glanced at the crucial battle on the peak, and his expression darkened. In front of everyone, it was impossible for the Dawn Moon Tower mistress to hold back. The only explanation was that the ninth son of Mahist Gate indeed had the strength to rival them. Ziwei, all heaven, what are you doing? Haven't you succeeded yet? At this moment, the void shook, and a figure slowly descended. Golden light surged, dazzling everyone. Honorable Jinyao, go and help the Dawn Moon Tower mistress. Without explaining, Honorable Ziwei immediately shouted. Honorable Jinyao narrowed his eyes, but he didn't ask any questions. His figure flashed, and he flew toward the peak in the distance. 6 Karma's Sky Restriction, Azura Silence. The 6th star Venerable appeared, and the battle was about to change. Suddenly, a red light fell from the sky, and a red harp half the height of one's body appeared. A beautiful figure appeared in front of the harp. She was incomparably beautiful, and she plucked the harp with her slender hands. Celestial music shook the wind and clouds. As the celestial music approached, Honorable Jinyao turned and avoided the sound waves. His expression darkened, and he looked at the woman in front of him and asked coldly, "Who are you?" "Heavenly Music Pavilion, Wu Qingying," the woman replied calmly. Honorable Jinyao snorted and said, "You want to stop me by yourself? How naive. Really? What if I join you?" As she spoke, dust rose behind the crowd, and a young man in purple and red clothes walked over. Although he looked calm, there was an indescribable aura that couldn't be ignored. The 4th prince of the Kaiyang dynasty. Seeing him, Qi Yanxia, who was fighting on the other side, was surprised. He had shown up, which was really unexpected. The Kaiyang Emperor Yuan Emperor had been killed by Ning Chen in the Battle of Killing Demons in the Central Prefecture. This hatred couldn't be resolved easily. Yi Xuanmiao glanced at the peak and said calmly, "Marquis Jiming, you owe me a fair battle of life and death. Any time." On the peak, Ning Chen waved his sword to stop the battle and replied seriously. Yi Xuanmiao nodded and looked at the star venerable in front of him. He said coldly, "I'm the only one who can take his life. You're not qualified." Arrogant. Honorable Jinyao's face turned cold. He dashed out, and his palm condensed majestic power to break through the barrier. Yi Xuanmiao waved his hand, and blue frost filled his eyes. In the frost, a clear blue sword appeared. The moment the sword was drawn, the sound of the sword resounded through the universe. The shrill sound of the sword was extremely ear-piercing, like the cry of cicadas in autumn, mourning for death. They fought at close range, and the sword was fierce and deadly. It was a sword that had surpassed the peak, and its sword style was unique, unpredictable, and unpredictable. Cyan Borer Reverse Rainbow. After a few moves, Honorable Jinyao dodged the sword light. But the Cyan Borer sword in the swordsman's hand suddenly twisted and turned back. The hard sword light turned into a soft waterfall and pierced toward Honorable Jinyao's heart. Honorable Jinyao's expression changed slightly. He turned his feet and dodged the sword light again. However, the sword followed closely and couldn't be avoided. Back off. The sword light suppressed Honorable Jinyao. He couldn't restrain his anger. He took the sword head-on, and then his whole body erupted, forcing the swordsman in front of him to retreat. 6 Yi Forbidden World, Evil Ghost Open. The swordsman retreated, and the sound of the guqin followed. Wu Qingying played the guqin with both hands, and blood splashed. The guqin aura surged, and the destructive sound of the guqin spread out. With a loud bang, the golden light dissipated, and the red guqin waves crisscrossed. The destructive power made the entire Heaven's Choice Mountain range tremble. The 6 Yi demonic sound could destroy heaven and earth. Honorable Jinyao turned his palm to block the demonic sound. He retreated half a step, and the blood qi in his body surged. After one move, Wu Qingying's hands didn't stop. Her delicate hands pulled 3 strings, and suddenly, the red Guqin waves spread out in front of the mountain range. The celestial sound was decadent, and the demonic sound disturbed the heart. Honorable Jin Yao focused, and his feet turned in the air, wandering in the Guqin waves. 6 Yi Forbidden Heaven, Azura Dao Destruction. Blood Qi entered the Guqin, and the Guqin aura roared. The hairpin on Wu Qingying's head shattered, and her long hair danced wildly. Blood dripped from her delicate hands, dyeing the strings red. 4 strings were plucked, and the terrifying Guqin waves spread out. Endless blood lights spread out with shocking power, and thousands of miles were destroyed. Honorable Jin Yao calmed down, and his right palm flipped, and rain and thunder poured down, opening the path to hell. The 2 moves collided, and in an instant, the blue sword light broke through the waves. Like dust, 100 breaths of the underworld. At the moment of the collision, Honorable Jin Yao forcefully raised his qi to block the sword light. Suddenly, his face changed. Not far away, the beautiful figure in front of the Guqin played with 6 fingers. In an instant, there was silence. After a moment, heaven and earth were vast, and everything disintegrated. Crazy red waves rushed out from the Guqin. There is no Tao in the human world, and all living souls are lost. The extremely terrifying Guqin aura swept out, and the red waves destroyed everything in its path. In front of the Guqin, Wu Qingying staggered, unable to bear the backlash of the 6 Yi demonic Guqin. She vomited vermilion blood. The Guqin aura shook, and the shocking Guqin reached its peak. Honorable Jin Yao turned his palm to shake off the sword light in front of his eyes. He didn't care that his qi hadn't been generated yet, and forcefully raised his body to block the Guqin waves. Ah! A muffled groan, and in the earth-shaking vibration, a splash of blood splashed out. Since the start of the battle, this was the first time Honorable Jin Yao saw blood. At the top of Tianxian Peak, Ning Chen's gaze swept across the 3 battles. He focused his mind, and no longer waited. Let's begin. With a sound transmission, Ning Chen's figure instantly swept in front of the trapping immortal sword. He raised his hand to draw the sword, and immediately, boundless qi was drawn into the sword, increasing its power. The Dawn Moon Tower Master waved her hand, and her body rose to the extreme. A silver-gray brilliance soared into the sky. Her strongest move, the peak, appeared. Return to the Yellow Springs, life and death uncertain. The divine weapon catalyzed, and the extreme move increased its power. It had been planned for a long time, and now it appeared. The extreme move arrived, and Ning Chen didn't dodge. The phoenix origin and life scroll in his body were pushed to the extreme. Yin and Yang opened, and the 2 sides reappeared. Red and white soared into the sky. The Taiji diagram appeared and spun violently. It attracted the wind and clouds of heaven and earth, condensing the qi of the immortal sword into the former's move. The 2 strongest people in the world combined their moves, and the terrifying power continued to rise. The Taiji diagram dissipated, and endless power poured down. The qi condensed for an instant, and the 4 scrolls in Su Yi's body absorbed all the power. They multiplied endlessly, and the scene of the absolute beginning appeared again. This is. At this moment, in the distant battlefield, the honorables were shocked. They all looked at the distant battlefield. Good friends, I need your help. At the top of the mountain, Su Yi said calmly. Xia Zi and the others came back to their senses. Without hesitation, they stepped out of the battlefield and used their qi to support Ning Chen. Many thanks. Ning Chen replied softly. He stepped into the air and soared into the 9 heavens. 6 Dao Fall, myriad demonic calamities, grand forbidden sword. The sword entered the starry sky, and the 9 heavens sank. It was the extreme move of the sword, and one became infinite. It moved horizontally and vertically, and the bloody light was dazzling. Doomsday Calamity. The calamity appeared, and 10,000 swords fell from the sky. The peak swords of the current era slashed open the boundary of time and space, and the ancient era appeared again. Chapter 750. On Heaven's Choice Peak, the Taisheng Forbidden Sword appeared. Thousands of blood-red sword lights appeared in the sky, surpassing the limits of time and space as they fell from the sky. Rumbling, everywhere the sword light passed, heaven and earth were destroyed. The entire Heaven's Choice mountain range instantly collapsed, becoming history. Doomsday catastrophe, the world was shocked. The star sector sovereigns immediately retreated, unwilling to be affected by the catastrophe. The sword on the sword, supported by immortal might, converged. The chi of Heaven's Choice Peak and the power of several peak experts of the present age, rose to the extreme. As the sword energy accumulated, it continuously surpassed its limits, drawing out one terrifying black crack after another on the horizon. How can this be? The star sector sovereigns looked at the shocking scene in front of them, shocked. An indescribable fear rose from the depths of their hearts. This was the first time they had experienced it in thousands of years. A moment later, the last sword fell from the sky. Baleful aura surged, and the forbidden technique ended. With a loud explosion, time and space collapsed, and the sword opened the ancient era. It was a shocking scene. The world was vast, the earth shook, and the mountains shook. The immortal slayer slashed open the human world. An illusory ancient battlefield appeared in the void, gradually solidifying in front of everyone's eyes. How can this be? When the battlefield appeared, the sovereign's eyes trembled fiercely. They were already sure that Gate's ninth son was not the one chosen by heaven. However, the truth in front of them was clear and dazzling. Above the 9 heavens, Bai slowly descended. The 2 immortal swords flew back and circled around her. In the void, cracks spread out one after another. An ancient aura overflowed. One could vaguely see the killing intent. Buzz! The moment the ancient battlefield opened, 2 streams of light flew out from the majestic hall of sovereigns that was separated by countless years. Heaven and earth bore witness as they flew in the direction of the ancient battlefield. At the same time, in an ancient secret realm, the void shook. A stream of light streaked past. However, just as it flew out, it was stopped by a terrifying force, unable to move forward. The next moment, an ancient voice was heard, crossing time and space and spreading into the distance. On Heaven's Choice Peak, Ning Chen looked into the distance and narrowed his eyes. It's here. The stream of light streaked past, passing through the limits of space and arriving quickly. The vow of the sovereigns, heaven and earth bore witness, could not be violated. Looking at the 2 streams of light flying towards Gate's 9th son, the 5-star sector sovereigns' expressions were abnormally ugly, but it was too late to stop them. When the extreme heavenly thunder pearl appeared, the sky was filled with thunder and lightning. The sea of thunder covered the sky and covered the sun. Not far away, a broken arm guard appeared at the same time. It was simple and unadorned with mottled patterns, revealing the aura of time. The 2 treasures arrived. The bracer fused into his left arm, and the thunder pearl entered his chi sea. The waning moon tower's master narrowed her eyes. Something was missing. This was troublesome. At this moment, a voice transmission from outside the boundless space swept over. The wind and clouds received the order and surged violently. If you want the time seal, come and get it yourself. When Ning Chen heard this, his expression turned cold as he replied in a deep voice, I will definitely take what belongs to me. I will be waiting for you. As he spoke, the wind and clouds in the sky gradually dissipated, disappearing along with his words. The coldness in Ning Chen's eyes grew thicker and thicker. Indeed, it wasn't so easy to obtain the time restriction. Not fearing the heavens and the earth, forcefully stopping the birth of the time restriction. It was rumored that the strength of this person was immeasurable. Kill them all. Seeing that the primordial battlefield was about to open, Supremacy Ziwei swept his gaze across the people blocking the way and said coldly. The 4-star venerables nodded and moved at the same time. Stop the battle. As soon as he spoke, a blue light shone in the sky. As the sleeves of her clothes fluttered, a beautiful blue-clothed figure with blood-red hair descended from the sky. The flower burial blade appeared, and in an instant, the heavens and earth within 1,000 miles separated. The goddess of the saber and the butterfly of the flower appeared in the world. Her peerless grace stunned the world. Senior sister. Seeing the person who came, Ning Chen's eyes trembled as he spoke in shock. The beautiful woman with blood-red hair fluttering in the wind had a delicate appearance and an exquisite figure. She was peerless in her generation. She surpassed the pearls and goddesses of any aristocratic family. Junior brother, you all go in. Leave these people to me. Hua Zhongjie glanced at the figure in the sky in the distance and revealed a beautiful smile as she spoke. Ning Chen was startled. He was just about to speak when he was stopped. Listen to me and go in, Hua Zhongjie spoke again. Ning Chen sighed deeply in his heart. He looked at the people in front of Tianxian Peak and said, let's go. Xia Zi, Mu Qianshang, and the others nodded when they heard this. Without hesitation, they took a step forward and left the battlefield, flying toward the primordial battlefield in the sky. Don't worry and go in. The aura in this woman's body is extraordinary. Nothing will happen so easily. The Dawn Moon House Master transmitted her voice and walked into the primordial battlefield. Ning Chen looked at the beautiful blue-clothed figure in front of the 5 Supremes and clenched his fists. A moment later, he shifted his gaze to the 5 Supremes and a cold killing intent flashed in his eyes. He coldly said, when I come out, if anything happens to her, I swear to the heavens that I will exterminate your entire family. With that, Ning Chen did not say anything else and turned to walk into the primordial battlefield. Not far away, the young experts cautiously avoided the center of the primordial battlefield and leaped into the air, flying toward the primordial battlefield in the sky. After everyone left, the atmosphere became even heavier. The blue-clothed butterfly stood alone in front of the 5 Supremes. Beside her, the flower burial tears gently hummed. Even before the saber moved, the killing intent had already risen. Feeling the terrifying power that was constantly filling the woman's body, the 5 Supremes' expression became serious. No one dared to be careless. This woman's situation was not right. The power in her body was not cultivated by herself. However, without a doubt, just this unknown power alone gave her the qualifications to be on equal footing with them. It's more important to go to the primordial battlefield. Don't delay, end the battle quickly. Supremacy Zi Wei reminded in a deep voice. He stepped forward and started the battle. The flower burial tears flew out with a black brilliance. The flower burial tears flew out and slashed with a black brilliance. When the two attacks collided, the blue-clothed figure instantly moved. She held the saber and pushed the person in front of her back with a bang. Not far away, Supremacy Ling Su saw this and condensed a green flame in his palm. A vigorous and domineering sea of fire swept out, shocking the world and boiling the sea. Dance of butterflies, frost. Green flames soared into the sky. The saber in Butterfly's hand turned, and the wind surged. Countless blood-colored frost appeared out of thin air and descended on the battlefield. In the sky, beautiful frost flowers bloomed, so beautiful that it made one's heart tremble. After an instant, the frost flowers collapsed and turned into the sky burial saber. Thousands of saber intents erupted and instantly drowned the green flames that filled the sky. 8 Seas furious current. Before the aftershock dissipated, the supremacies flipped their palms and immediately, thousands of waves roared and pressed down from the sky. Dance of butterflies, double rainbow. Butterflies' sleeves fluttered, and a saber appeared within the flower burial tears. A white saber appeared and the black and white saber drew a beautiful double rainbow that cut through the waves and slashed open the furious current. The unshakable saber god's sleeves fluttered and the saber danced within. The first wave of attacks from the 3 supremacies instantly disappeared. Sky swallowing finger. After 3 moves, the world rumbled and the atmosphere of the battle suddenly stagnated. Supremacy Jinyao's body shone brightly with golden light as he condensed energy from his fingers and pierced through the sky with a sharp finger. As the killing move approached, the wind and clouds changed. An indescribable power erupted from Butterfly's body. Blood mist surged and Butterfly's eyes instantly turned blood red. The sleeves spread out and extended for dozens of feet. The flower burial tears shone brightly and a saber light soared into the sky, cutting open the void. In the void, millions of black butterflies flew out like hell butterflies. There were millions of them, covering the sky and the sun. Dance of butterflies, Nether King. Butterfly's beautiful wings spread out and a terrifying aura spread out. Everywhere it passed, the sea withered and the sky fell. It made people feel a bone-deep fear. In the next moment, the sleeves rotated and intertwined, forming an inescapable net that blocked around Butterfly. The sharp finger collided with the net, but in an instant, the force was completely dissipated. Butterfly stood in the air amidst the cold wind and raging flames. The black wings on its back flapped continuously. A destructive aura spread out. It was shockingly heavy and frightening. Demonic creature. Looking at the form of the woman in front of them, the expressions of the 5 supremacies sank. This woman could no longer be judged by human standards. Butterfly's dance, Qing Ping. Butterfly moved again and danced gracefully. The sleeves spread out and the 2 sabers in the sleeves shone brilliantly. It was a stunning martial art that was both sharp and beautiful. The saber god used her ultimate skill. The 5 supremacies' expressions turned serious. They raised their extreme yuan and fought against Butterfly in the demonic realm. Sonorous sounds of extreme power colliding resounded throughout the world. The figures that were constantly crossing each other were fast and heavy. This was a battle of the pinnacle. In the starry night, the mountains within thousands of miles around the 6 of them collapsed one after another. Huge rocks rolled down and shattered in the terrifying aftermath. Seeing that the situation was difficult to resolve, Ying Qiong took 2 steps back and leaped into the air. He condensed his yuan and his true qi surged as he fell from the sky. With a bang, Butterfly used her saber to block the attack. She paused for a moment and the ground beneath her cracked. Her sleeves wrapped around the 2 sabers. Butterfly flipped her palms and pushed away the person in front of her. She flapped her wings and quickly moved forward. Butterfly dance, flower burial. Butterfly burial, saber annihilation, 100 flowers whirled in the wind. In an instant, the saber light flashed and hundreds of flowers were destroyed. Ugh! With a groan, Ying Qiong's figure flew out. Blood gushed out from the corner of his mouth and dyed his clothes red. In the cold night, in the cold wind, Butterfly in the demonic realm displayed a shocking ability. Wherever the saber went, the mountains moved and the earth moved. The world was destroyed. The emotionless saber and the emotionless butterfly bloomed in the flower burial and snow burial. They were unique and independent. They were so dazzling that people couldn't look at them directly. The situation was under control. The 2 star venerables, Lingxiu and Ziwei, condensed their true qi at the same time. With the help of the wind and the fire, rolling fire waves appeared. The move that surpassed the limit ran through the sea of stars and broke the sky. In the void, Butterfly in the flower looked serious. She put her sleeves together and put her 2 sabers together. She held the sabers and poured her true qi into them. The ultimate qi broke the sky. The move of deification reappeared in the world. Since ancient times, it's the only one in 100 generations. It's a saber in spring and autumn. It's beautiful. The pinnacle move was used. The sky and the earth shook. The endless saber light, which went against the sky, absorbed the saber energy in the sky and spiraled. In an instant, it fell down quickly. The area within thousands of miles was destroyed. The mountains fell and the earth sank. The two moves collided. The sky and the earth became dim in an instant. The three of them groaned and retreated a dozen steps. Not far away, the three venerables were also affected by the final tribulation and retreated 1,000 feet. Ugh! The ground was dyed red. The two star venerables, Lingxiu and Ziwei, staggered. Looking at the butterfly in the dust, they couldn't hide the shock on their faces. The blue butterfly walked out of the dust. Its blood-red hair was flying. The black butterfly wings on its back were more horrible than the world could bear. It distorted the void within thousands of miles. Chapter 751. In front of Heaven's Choice Mountain, the butterfly was fighting 5 venerables. Black waves spread out from the butterfly's flapping wings, turning the battle into the most terrifying hell on earth. At the center of the battle, Venerable Ziwei and Venerable Lingxiu had blood dripping from the corners of their mouths. They were heavily injured from the backlash. The result was hard to believe. The 5-star domain venerables were at a disadvantage even though they were working together. Seeing that the situation was unfavorable, Venerable Yingqiong opened his heavenly eye. It shone with a dim light and peeked at the butterfly's weakness. Something's wrong. A shocked cry was heard. A black light flashed and a beautiful saber light came for his life. Venerable Yingqiong hurriedly turned his palm to block the attack. He was shocked and retreated several steps. Blood dripped down and dyed his right arm red. Venerable Yingqiong looked at the former's dantian in shock. There was no Qi Si. How could it be? Be careful, she's not human. Venerable Yingqiong suppressed the shock in his heart and said anxiously. Boom! As soon as he said that, the butterfly's wings split the sky. The black light swept out again at an extremely fast and ruthless speed. The 3 venerables received the attack. The ground beneath their feet cracked. The butterfly was close at hand. The bloody light in her eyes was like a demon, making people's hearts palpitate. Butterfly dance, sky burial. The butterfly's wings glowed and the saber power of flower burial's tears became several times heavier. With a shocking sound, the 3 venerables were sent flying and retreated more than 10 steps. Absolute suppression, power and speed that surpassed humans. Every time the butterfly's wings flapped, the sky fell and everything collapsed. After fighting for a while, the 5 venerables were all dyed red. Drops of blood dripped from the corners of their mouths. As their injuries accumulated, their true qi gradually became insufficient. Drag the battle. Sensing that the battle was unfavorable, Venerable Yingqiong reminded them. The girl's condition was very unusual and could not be maintained for long. As long as they could endure this dangerous period, her cultivation would not be a problem. Ziwei, Jinyao, Zhu Tian, and Lingxiu heard him and spread out. One advanced, one defended, one attacked, one defended, and one attacked. They took turns to attack and defend, dragging the battle out. Seeing the 5 venerables change their tactics, the flower burial's tears saber in Butterfly's hand split in half. Her blue sleeve spread out like a sky net. She moved again. The sky net trapped Yingqiong. Not good. Seeing that Yingqiong's venerable master was obstructed by the water sleeve heavenly net, the 4 venerables' expressions changed. They immediately rushed forward and urged their vast essence to save Yingqiong from danger. However, the water sleeves crisscrossed with each other, forming layers of barriers that separated the battle. Inside the heavenly net, the butterfly was killing Yingqiong the Venerable with all its might. The one-on-one martial art was filled with killing intent. Fighting head-on, the sounds of battle rumbled, the aura was majestic, the butterflies danced and buried the flowers, the black and white demonic divine weapons moved swiftly and fiercely. Yingqiong the Venerable, who was fighting alone, fell into a dangerous situation. Let's work together to break the heavenly net. Seeing that the crisscrossing water sleeves were facing a crisis, Ling Su turned into a green flame, waves of fire roaring and splitting the sky. At the side, Supremacy Ziwei saw this and used the 9th tier of Qi-controlling realm. 1,000 caddies of strong wind spiraled into the sky. The wind aided the fire, and the divine might shook the heavens. The two of them joined hands and unleashed their most powerful moves. The boundless sea of fire rushed towards the sky net. With a loud bang, the ultimate might heavenly net collided head-on. In an instant, the sky net was undone. A black stream of light rushed into the sky, avoiding the aftershock. The butterfly flapped its wings and fell from the sky. The moment the two venerables did not have enough time to recover their chi, the saber light flashed. In an instant, the All-Heavens Venerable's figure flashed and his vast essence palm blocked the incoming attack. Rip! With an ear-piercing sound of clothes tearing, the All-Heavens Venerable blocked the first saber, but it was too late to block the second saber. The white saber pierced through his body, bringing out a large amount of blood. Impossible! It was an unbelievable scene. The All-Heavens Venerable vomited blood, and his vitality gradually faded away. You didn't expect more than this. The butterfly said coldly. Its blood-red eyes shone brightly. The white saber quickly swallowed the former's origin and assimilated it into its body. 9 Underworld's heaven-devouring demon scripture. Seeing the All-Heavens Venerable's origin rapidly dissipating, the 4 Venerables' expressions changed at the same time. This woman must not be left alive. The 4 Venerables came back to their senses and made up their minds. With a deep roar, their chi rose rapidly, and waves of chi surged continuously, connecting heaven and earth, stirring up the wind and clouds. The butterfly in the flower pulled out its saber. In front of them, the All-Heavens Venerable who had lost his origin slowly fell down, his vitality gone. A cold wind blew, and sand and dust rose, covering one's eyes for an instant. The black saber light cut through the void, and the killing move was majestic. The 4 Venerables raised their chi, determined to kill the demon fetus. Their moves were full of killing intent, and every move was tricky. The vast essence palm connected, and the scene of doomsday was like the sky was collapsing. The 5 Venerables' chi surged violently. The battle had been going on for a long time, and their chi had been exhausted. However, the 4 Venerables relied on their advantage of teamwork, and the loss of their chi was even less. The power of their moves was still shocking. In the battle, the butterfly was fighting 1 against 4. Although her chi was exhausted, her killing intent did not decrease at all. Her blue sleeves danced, and she was as graceful as a fairy, killing like a demon. Raging flames burning sea. At the critical moment of the battle, Venerable Ling Su split open the sky, and his chi of fire surged. The power of his move was exhausted, and the final move was revealed. Seeing this, the 3 Venerables succeeded, and each of them condensed their chi of fire, which converged in all directions. At the final moment of the battle, the 4 Venerables' chi of fire split the sky and overturned the sea. The airflow suppressed heaven and earth, and the clouds surged, dyed red by this shocking power. The butterfly's eyes narrowed, and her figure slowly rose. The black airflow around her body swirled violently, and an unprecedented destructive power rose, devouring everything and annihilating time and space. The moment the chi of fire was used, victory and defeat would be decided. At this moment, above the 9 heavens, clouds surged, and a sword with purple light descended from the sky. Boundless pressure shook, and broke the stalemate of the battle. Stop! As soon as the voice fell, 2 figures descended from the sky, and their powerful chi spread continuously, startling the universe. Shenji, worship the moon. Seeing the 2 people who appeared in the battle, everyone's expression froze. Shenji landed on the ground and looked at the 4 people in front of him. Leaving for the ancient battlefield is more important. Could it be that the 4 Venerables want to wait another 1,000 years? The 4 Venerables' eyes sank, and a moment later, they coldly snorted and withdrew their chi, choosing to stop. Shenji's gaze shifted to the blood-haired woman on the other side. He sternly said, "Miss, your goal of blocking us has already been achieved. Mo Gate's ninth son and the others have already taken a step forward. There's no benefit in continuing this battle. How about we just stop here? Hua Zhongye still didn't say anything. She calmly stood in front of the venerables, blocking them all by herself. Miss, although your abilities are rarely seen in the world, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Since I've come, I can't just stand by and watch. Miss, how long can you block us all by yourself? If something happens to you, with Mo Gate's ninth son's personality, he definitely won't let it go. At that time, a war will be unavoidable, and it won't benefit anyone, said Shinji seriously. Why? Hua Zhongye calmly asked for the first time. She could see that this person was different from the other venerables. Wild is already my adopted daughter. If possible, I don't want to become enemies with Mo Gate's ninth son, said Shinji without the slightest concealment. Hua Zhongye looked back at the ancient battlefield in the sky. After a moment, she withdrew her gaze, and the blood-red light in her eyes and the butterfly wings on her back vanished. She stepped into the air and left. Do you need me to speak on your behalf? Asked Shinji. If fate wills it, we'll meet again. As she spoke, the beautiful blue figure disappeared into the horizon, no longer clearly visible. Shinji, we need your explanation. Now that she had left, Venerable Ziwei's expression was icy. Everyone knows how terrifying the 9 netherworlds heaven-devouring devil scripture is. If we continue fighting, even if we manage to kill her, the price will be unbearable. Everyone, 1,000 years of waiting has finally come true. Don't let this hard-earned opportunity go to waste, said Shinji indifferently. Venerable Ziwei snorted and didn't say anything more. He took a step forward, flying toward the ancient battlefield. Ling Su, Jin Yao, and Ning Qiong followed. When they passed by each other, ill feelings flashed in their eyes. This Shinji's calculations were becoming more and more incomprehensible. For Shinji to choose to appear and stop the battle truly surprises Baiyue. After the 4 of them left, Venerable Baiyue indifferently said. Planting good karma will bring good karma sooner or later, said Shinji calmly. Shinji, do you think it's worth it for Mo Gate's ninth son to cause ill feelings between the other venerables? Asked Venerable Baiyue. The relationship between the venerables has always been one of mutual benefit. How could there be ill feelings? As for Mo Gate's ninth son, before today, who would have thought he would be able to open the ancient battlefield? Everything that happened today was without a doubt planned by Mo Gate's ninth son and the Dawn Moon Pavilion Master. But I didn't expect that other than the 2 of them, there would also be so many powerful young experts helping them. At this point, Venerable Baiyue's expression turned serious and he continued, the Earth Chi of the Heaven-Chosen Mountain, the Dawn Moon Pavilion Master, the Immortal Extermination Sect, the Immortal Trapping Sect, and those unknown youths. Mo Gate's ninth son has truly gathered all the power he can hear. If it's a coincidence, I'm afraid no one would believe it. There are never so many coincidences in this world. It's all a result of human effort. I think that from the moment he faked his death to confuse the venerables, his plan had already begun. When he arrived at the heaven-chosen mountain ahead of everyone else, the venerables had already been defeated. The Dawn Moon Pavilion Master's reward for choosing him is the next step, said Shinji indifferently. What a terrifying pair. Venerable Baiyue sighed. The Dawn Moon Pavilion Master's boldness was truly not something an ordinary person could compare with. As for Mo Gate's ninth son, he had repeatedly exceeded their expectations. Shinji, do you know who the Heaven Chosen is? Asked Venerable Baiyue. It no longer has any meaning. From the moment Mo Gate's ninth son forcefully opened the ancient battlefield, the Heaven Chosen was nothing more than a joke. Let's go. Let's see who the final winner of this trip to the ancient battlefield is. After saying that, Shinji took a step forward and soared through the air, heading towards the ancient battlefield. Venerable Baiyue followed. His clothes fluttered in the wind, making him look like a fairy descending from the heavens. The ancient battlefield was completely desolate. As far as the eye could see, there was not a single trace of life. The flames of war from the ancient times could no longer be seen. Only the merciless passage of time remained on the dark brown earth. Just as everyone entered the battlefield, a beautiful woman in a blue dress appeared. She walked step by step on the desolate earth. She was so quiet that it made one's heart ache. Her bare feet were an inch off the ground. Her blood-red hair fluttered in the wind. She was like a beautiful butterfly. Once she spread her wings, there was no turning back. Chapter 752. In front of the ancient battlefield, the Heaven's Choice Mountain had been reduced to scorched earth after the battle. The demonic butterfly's destructive power had destroyed everything within thousands of miles. There was not a single place left intact. The wind was whistling, and the night was cold and desolate. Sand and dust filled the air as a beautiful woman walked over in the wind. She held a red umbrella in her hand, and her features were picturesque. She was so perfect that she seemed to have come out of a painting. It was very unreal. Below the ancient battlefield, the woman took a step forward and flew toward the battlefield in the sky. In the battlefield, the wind was cold, and the yellow sand was covered. The butterfly moved forward, and with every step it took, the surrounding mountains collapsed. The uncontrollable destructive power kept flowing, shocking the world. That's, under the night sky, a young expert looked at the shocking scene in front of him. His face was filled with shock. Who was that? Boom! The demonic aura was hard to control, and the black wings on the butterfly's back unfolded on their own. Suddenly, a terrifying destructive aura spread rapidly, and the world changed color. With a miserable cry, the young expert was affected by the demonic aura, and his body exploded. The instant his blood and bones scattered, they were immediately swallowed up by the demonic aura. The butterfly groaned in pain, and its eyes were faintly discernible. Its murderous aura rose. Butterfly in the flower, come back with me. At this moment, a beautiful woman holding a red umbrella appeared and said softly, "Don't worry, brother Yi." Impossible. Butterfly in the flower's face turned cold when she saw the woman. Those star venerables already know that you're practicing the 9 Serenities sky-devouring demon scripture. This world can't tolerate you anymore. Coming back with me is your only choice, the moon weaver said calmly. Butterfly in the flower didn't answer, and continued walking forward. The path you've chosen can only lead to destruction. Do you really want me to kill him before you're willing to come back with me? Red light flashed, and the moon weaver's figure flashed. If you dare hurt him, butterfly in the flower will not rest until you're dead. The butterfly's eyes were filled with murderous aura when its reverse scale was touched. Its blood-red eyes were threatening, and the dots of red made people's hearts palpitate. I can't help it. With a soft sigh, the red light broke through the sky and disappeared into the night in the blink of an eye. Hua Zhongdia's expression changed. She wanted to chase after him, but all of a sudden, she staggered. The demonic yuan in the black wings on her back went out of control, a horrifying power vibrated, the power of destroying mountains and splitting seas roared out, covering thousands of miles. Separated by tens of thousands of li, Su Yi advanced alone. She entered the battlefield, searching for the ancient immortal's opportunity. It was a strange place. Everyone who entered was separated, and it was hard to see anyone within 1,000 miles. Suddenly, the sound of horse hooves thundered, as if it had surpassed the ancient times. The oppressive pressure that assaulted their faces made them feel an indescribable feeling of being torn apart, heavy and ancient. Ning Chen stopped in his tracks and stared ahead. His robes fluttered in the wind. His body was as still as a mountain. Even if a mountain collapsed in front of him, his expression wouldn't change. Hundreds of thousands of armored cavalry passed through. It was so shocking, even if it was just an illusion, it still made people feel fear. However, after seeing the real battlefield and experiencing countless battles, the knowing destiny state was no longer afraid. A general died in 100 battles, but a warrior returned after 10 years. The great Xia Jiming Marquis had experienced far more than 100 battles. Thousands of troops and horses passed by, but in front of them was still desolate. Perhaps it had been prosperous in the ancient times, but now, only scorched earth was left. Immortal's opportunity, seeking immortality, cultivating immortality, becoming an immortal. It was just like the scene in front of them. No one knew if it was a mirage or a masterpiece from the ancient times. Ning Chen continued forward with firm steps. Since he had made his choice, he wouldn't regret it. On the other side, the lady in white took out the heaven-suppressing chessboard. Looking at the crisscrossing black and white pieces, her beautiful eyes flashed. Ever since the ninth son of Mo's sect forcefully opened the entrance to the ancient battlefield on behalf of the Chosen One, the situation on the heaven-suppressing chessboard changed. The black pieces gradually took the lead, breaking the deadlock. The Chosen One is actually stronger than the Chosen One. The result of this trip to the ancient battlefield is hard to predict. After observing for a long time, Baiyu the Venerable waved his hand and put away the heaven-suppressing chessboard. Then, he took a step forward and flew towards the direction indicated by the chessboard. Dong! Just as everyone was searching for the ancient immortal's opportunity, a bell rang out from somewhere. Then, it rang out again and again, echoing throughout the battlefield. A bell? In the wilderness, Ning Chen stopped and narrowed his eyes. How could there be a bell in this place? After thinking for a moment, Ning Chen's figure flashed as he rushed towards the source of the bell. The ninth son of Mo's sect. Perhaps I should call you the Knowledge Marquis. As he spoke, a beautiful figure descended from the sky. A red paper umbrella blocked the filth of the mortal world. A pure and holy aura spread through the night sky. An unfamiliar person with shocking words. Ning Chen's eyes narrowed and he raised his guard. In the outer heavens, other than the Dawn Moon Pavilion's master, there was someone else who knew of his identity. Miss, who are you? Why are you blocking the way? Asked Ning Chen calmly. Moon Weaver, the person who took your life. Moon Weaver said softly. Her voice was calm and without the slightest threat, but it made people feel a chill in their hearts. Ning Chen's expression turned cold. This should be the first time we've met. There shouldn't be any enmity between us. Don't you think you've gone too far? Killing people is always going too far. Knowledge Marquis, I've heard that your sword cultivation is extraordinary. Today, Moon Weaver will experience it. Red light blossomed, and a shocking silver divine sword appeared. Moon Weaver gripped the sword and shot forward. Ning Chen didn't dare be careless. His right hand clenched, and the life executioner's sword fell in a bloody mist. Blood-colored lines spread out and stabbed into Knowledge Destiny's sword-wielding hand. Their bloodlines were connected, and their auras flourished. The two swords clashed, and a frigid chi roared out, instantly freezing everything within 1,000 miles. Miss, you've gone too far. Ning Chen couldn't help but feel angry at being blocked for an unknown reason. With his sword in hand, he didn't care about life or death. As the two swords clashed, Moon Weaver's divine sword began to shine brightly, and its power multiplied. Knowledge Destiny, the sword began to hum. The sword and man breathed as one. The sword danced, and the wind and snow reflected a brilliant bloody light. Such a shocking sword was rarely seen in 100 lifetimes. Oh! Sensing the pressure from her opponent's sword, Moon Weaver's eyes flashed. This child's sword was extraordinary. Flowing light flashed, and the divine sword under the red umbrella moved with unfathomable agility. The peak of its power appeared for the first time in the world. The moonlight sword art was a peerless sword art that had never been seen before. It was hard to tell which sword was superior, but now it appeared at the same time. Sword art, nothingness. Nothingness's sword wind swallowed the heavens and destroyed the earth. The sword art fused with the power of the heavenly tome, and the earth in all directions disintegrated, swallowed by the rising sword energy. The corners of the Moon Weaver's mouth curled up. Her red umbrella spun rapidly, emitting a brilliant light. A blood-colored wave that could topple mountains and overturn seas extended outwards, blocking the sword energy. Red light flashed, and the divine sword broke through the shockwaves, instantly arriving in front of Su-yi. Extreme Tao, chaotic reversal. With a bang, the two swords clashed once more. Ning Chen felt his entire body sink, and the ground beneath his feet sank a meter. He had never seen such a strange martial art before. After one exchange, the situation had changed. This sword reverses the moon and water. Moonweaver said softly, but the sword energy did not decrease at all. The sword light flashed, and a brilliant silver light filled the eyes. Ning Chen stepped out of his bindings, and his sword met the divine weapon. He once again felt the gravity increase by 1,000 times. With a bang, his feet sank into the ground once more. Earth scroll, earth turns 1,000 times. The battle was unfavorable. Ning Chen flipped his palm, and the ground around him split open. The endless abyss split open, and the bottom couldn't be seen. Heavenly Tome. Moonweaver's eyes flashed, and she moved gracefully. Under the red umbrella, the divine sword once again displayed its shocking power. Silver light shone, and the gravity within 100 miles was reversed. The two swords clashed, and Su-yi's figure soared into the air, out of her control. Extreme Tao, heavenly rainbow. With the advantage accumulated, Moonweaver stepped into the air, and the divine sword slashed toward knowing destiny. Heavenly scroll, unparalleled under the heavens. The sword light descended and shook the divine sword once more. There was a loud tremor, and the aftershocks were turbulent. The void within thousands of miles collapsed bit by bit. You're not going to use the divine sword? Up close, Moonweaver looked at the plain-clothed young man and indifferently said. There's no need. Ning Chen's expression was cold. He flipped his palm, and with a bang, the battle began. Rumor has it that knowing destiny Marquis is someone who will do anything to win. Today, it seems that it's not so. Moonweaver's figure flashed, and her killing move closed in. Her unparalleled cultivation, peerless divine weapon, and the most terrifying killing move left no way out. There was no conspiracy, no backstabbing. Moonweaver's killing intent came openly, but it became the most terrifying calamity since knowing destiny Marquis returned. Knowing destiny Marquis was unparalleled in the world when it came to scheming. No one could break his open schemes. Sword technique, Dragon Phoenix burial. Borrowing strength, the dragon and phoenix intertwined. Dragons roared and phoenixes cried around Ning Chen, and the power of the gods rose rapidly, breaking through the sky. Seeing this, Moonweaver's red umbrella shone again, and with it, she soared into the 9 heavens. Extreme Tao, Moon Goddess command. The divine sword danced, and in the brilliant light, huge starlight appeared, gathering the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and the essence of the moon. The command of the gods, all things received it. An instant later, the starlight rotated, and sword light shot out one after another, destroying the heavens and the earth. The dragon and phoenix met, and for a moment there was a stalemate. But with a shocking sound, the destructive move ended, and a sword broke out, piercing through Ning Chen's body. Ugh! There was a muffled sound, and blood splattered. Su-yi took half a step back, and bits of red fell. In the sky, Moonweaver's figure slowly descended. Looking at the injured young man, she said calmly, before you truly enter the immortal realm, you won't be my opponent. Use the immortal sword, this is your last chance. There's no need. Ning Chen endured the injury in his chest and replied again. Then with a long cry of pain, his body glowed with bloody light, and the two bodies forcefully merged. The sky was filled with red light, and the phoenix returned to its ancestral state, standing in the divine realm. Sword technique. Holding the sword in front of him, the peak appeared again. In an instant, the wind rose, and sword light shot into the sky, crisscrossing, magnificent and unparalleled. The strongest sword intent, the phoenix's unyielding will, unwilling to bow its head in the face of death. The phoenix bathed in fire, seeking life in death. With a step, Su-yi rose, and 10,000 swords coiled around her. The phoenix in the sword, the god in the sword, appeared. Nirvana. The unparalleled sword was dazzling. In the next moment, 10,000 swords flew out, and the phoenix appeared. Chapter 753. On the ancient battlefield, cold winds howled. In the cold night, sword light soared into the sky, dazzling and making it difficult to look straight at. Nirvana reappeared, with only one peak. Wherever the rain of swords passed, mountains and rocks were destroyed. It was a sword rarely seen in the world, and its power was unparalleled. The 9 heavens and 10 lands were illuminated by the sword light. The moon weaver's expression turned serious. The divine sword in her hand glowed with silver light, reversing the moon and absorbing the spiritual essence of heaven and earth. Instantly, the void flipped and everything was upside down. The unimaginable power affected the layers of sword light and scattered them in all directions. Bang! The last few swords landed on the moon weaver's body. The moon weaver blocked with her sword, and with a rumble, she slid back dozens of feet. The red umbrella fell to the ground, stained with a trace of dust. Under the moonlight, the picturesque woman's hair fluttered, and her body was surrounded by moonlight. The moon weaver looked at the bright moon in the sky and frowned. A moment later, she walked to the side and picked up the red umbrella again. The paper umbrella blocked the moonlight, and the erupting energy around the moon weaver gradually calmed down and returned to normal. In this short interval, the mood of the battle had completely disappeared. Not far away, Ning Chen did not take the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Instead, he quietly waited for the second round. Just as the battle was about to start again, the moon weaver's expression changed slightly. She took a step forward and flew into the air. Jiming Marquis, this is it for today. See you later. With that, the red light disappeared into the night. Seeing this, Ning Chen narrowed his eyes. What's going on? Thousands of miles away, demonic chi surged. In the destroyed world, the blue-clothed butterfly found it difficult to move. The wings on its back exuded a black aura, and its power grew more and more terrifying. Red light gathered as the moon weaver waved her sword and unleashed demonic chi. Her figure flashed, and she condensed true chi into the butterfly's body. As the true chi entered the butterfly's body, the devouring power of the 9 netherworlds heaven-devouring demon scripture gradually stabilized. The butterfly wings dissipated and merged into the butterfly's body. Butterfly in the flower, you must come with me. The moon weaver raised her hand and sealed the butterfly's aura. Then she stepped forward and rushed out of the ancient immortal realm. The 9 serenities sky-devouring demon scripture had been lost for a long time. She didn't know where the butterfly in the flower had gotten it, but cultivating this scripture was a path of no return. She could either keep devouring the original power of thousands of innocent creatures, or let the devouring power of the demonic scripture devour her. There was no place in this world for someone who cultivated this demonic scripture. Once the venerables of the star fields were free, the next person they would deal with would be butterfly in the flower. Dong! In the depths of the battlefield, the bell rang once again. The aftershock reverberated throughout the entire ancient battlefield. Hua Zhongye turned her head and looked at the silhouette in the distance. Tears flashed in her eyes and fell silently. 10,000 miles away, Ning Chen sensed something and looked back. However, all he saw was an empty starry sky. It was so quiet. When will the infatuation of all living beings end? Outside the ancient battlefield, the moon weaver sighed softly. A moment later, she took the butterfly in the flower and flew away. Dong! In the battlefield, bell after bell rang out continuously. One figure after another flashed by, rushing in the direction of the bell's origin. In the starry sky, the silver-robed Di Mingtian appeared. His incomparably gorgeous clothes and silver-beaded mask all revealed his noble status. Your Highness. Ing Qianjiang bowed. Mo Gate's ninth son has opened the ancient battlefield for the Heaven's Chosen One. In the following days, the heavens will also change. I need to recover my strength. Ing Qianjiang, prepare the sacrifice of life, said Di Mingtian calmly. Yes. Ing Qianjiang respectfully accepted the order. In the depths of the battlefield, the bell rang out from within a mountain range. It was unknown where it had come from, or where it had come from. The sound of the bell echoed for 11 times before it stopped. Under the cold moon, thousands of rusty broken spears were stabbed into the ground in the spiraling mountain range. The aura of the ancient era flowed through them. Strangely, they had been preserved by the aftermath of the bell's chimes. The bell stopped ringing. An hour later, many figures rushed over from different directions and rushed into the mountain range. The huge mountain range that could not be seen in the mortal world stretched for tens of thousands of miles. When humans entered, they were like a drop in the ocean, unable to cause the slightest disturbance. Bai Yi appeared and entered the mountain. She looked at the stone pillars in front of her and didn't hesitate. Her figure flashed past, rushing forward at extreme speed. Due to the Moon Weaver's obstruction, he had already wasted quite a bit of time. He had to hurry. The immortal opportunity that everyone was searching for should be the method to reach the fourth realm. Up until now, he had never heard of a true fourth realm in sky beyond heaven. Perhaps this time, he would be able to find some clues. Cultivating the 9 ranks, passing the 3 calamities and 5 tribulations, and experiencing the 3 realms. The path of cultivation started from Hotian to Xiantian, and then experienced the tempering of the 3 realms of immortal treading. Only then could one be called a true grand cultivator. However, it was said that above immortal treading, there was a 4th realm that had reached great success. However, it had existed since ancient times, but it had not been seen in the present. According to his and the Dawn Moon Pavilion Master's deductions, in the era when the 4 immortal realms still existed, the 4th realm might be the threshold for mortals to ascend. Thus, the legendary true immortals were very likely cultivators at or above the 4th realm. Dong! Another hour later, the bell rang again. At midnight, the bell rang 12 times in a row. Sound waves rippled out from the mountain range and spread throughout the ancient battlefield. As the bell rang, the shadow of a huge ancient bronze bell appeared in the sky above the mountain range. No one rang it. After millions of years, it had not changed at all. Eastern Emperor Bell. Looking at the shadow of the ancient bell in the sky, the faces of the star sector sovereigns changed. The treasure of the Lord of the Eastern Immortal Realm was actually here. Among the 4 immortal realms, the strongest was undoubtedly the Eastern Immortal Realm, and the Lord of the Eastern Immortal Realm was the most powerful person in Jyotian Shidi. Even the Queen Mother of the West, who ruled the Western Immortal Realm, was slightly inferior. In ancient times, the Eastern Immortal Realm had 2 treasures that shocked the entire starry sky. One was the god-slaying sword, and the other was the Eastern Emperor Bell. Who would have thought that the Eastern Emperor Bell, which had disappeared with the collapse of the Eastern Immortal Realm, would appear in this ancient battlefield? After the bell rang 12 times, the shadow of the ancient bronze bell in the sky gradually faded. At this moment, in the sky, several figures rushed into the sky and joined forces to lock down the shadow of the ancient bell. Boom! The moment their auras came into contact with the bell, the ancient bell suddenly shook again. A terrifying shockwave spread out, and the 4 people who were close to it were shattered. Blood and bones filled the sky and rained down from the sky. In the mountain range, the expressions of the people who came changed. Without anyone controlling it, how could the Eastern Emperor Bell still be so powerful? 6 Karmic Silence, Wanxiang Heavenly Beginning. On a mountain peak, Wu Qingying looked at the ancient bronze bell in the sky. With a wave of her hand, a red harp that was half the height of her body appeared in front of her. Soon after, she plucked the strings, and an invisible celestial sound spread out. When the celestial sound arrived, heaven and earth became silent. The moment the harp's shockwave sealed the ancient bell, the Eastern Emperor bell shook, and the celestial sound instantly collapsed. The shockwave caused Wu Qingying to stagger and vomit a mouthful of blood. Looking at the bell in the sky, her beautiful face revealed shock. This bell was actually alive. In another direction, azure light gathered, and the star mark bow was drawn. An arrow light was about to shoot out, but a hand blocked it. Don't test it anymore. This bell is too strange. Carelessly using it might cause a backlash, said Mu Qianshang. Are we just going to wait like this? Asked Luo Xingqian. In the end, there's still a gap between us and those star field sovereigns. There's no need to start a conflict with them because of an unknown ancient bell. Let's just wait and see, said Mu Qianshang. Luo Xingqian nodded. After thinking for a moment, he said, what about knowing destiny? Why haven't I seen any movement from him? He should have arrived earlier than us. Perhaps he was delayed by something, or perhaps he arrived earlier and is just waiting to see what's going on like us. Mu Qianshang replied uncertainly. A hint of worry flashed across his brows. He was also worried about this matter. Knowing Destiny's state was different from them. They could ignore these things, but knowing Destiny's state could not. Knowing Destiny's original body only had a lifespan of less than 100 years. If one died, the 3 bodies would fall. Even if he obtained the time seal, he wouldn't be able to wait until the day the undying immortality peach tree bloomed. There was no way out of this predicament unless he could break the rule that mortals couldn't become immortals. However, the reason why the Heavens' Will was called the Heavens' Will was because it was the will of the heavens. No one could go against it. Knowing Destiny knew that the sovereigns were a threat, but he still entered the battlefield regardless. That was probably the reason. Shenji, help me. On the other side of the mountain range, the woman in the white dress said softly. Bai Yu, have you thought about it? The void swirled and Shenji walked out. He looked at the woman and said calmly. I must get this bell. Bai Yu the Venerable said seriously. As you wish. As he spoke, the purple light around Shenji shone brightly. His clothes fluttered in the wind. The whole world turned into a chessboard with the stars as the pieces. When he raised his hand, the stars moved and the moon moved. Seeing this, the sovereigns from all over the mountain range became serious. They didn't hesitate and immediately attacked. In an instant, rays of light shot up into the sky. The aura of the true realm rose to the extreme, shaking the stars. The sovereigns attacked together. Their aura pierced through the clouds and pressed against the ancient bell in the void. The battle for the immortal artifact had reached its climax. Dong! The bell rang. Sound waves spread out and blocked the aura of the sovereigns. After a moment of stalemate, the sky-stabilizing chessboard appeared in Bai Yu the Venerable's hand. Starlight shone from the 9 heavens. Black and white pieces flew in all directions, turning into runes and suppressing the power of the sovereigns. Bai Yu the Venerable took the initiative and rushed in front of the ancient bell. His slender hand condensed the power of wind and clouds and locked onto the ancient bell. I want this bell. At this moment, silver light gathered in the void. Di Mingtian walked out. He turned his palm and gathered primordial qi. An unparalleled force slammed towards Bai Yu the Venerable. Bai Yu the Venerable's face darkened. He turned his slender hand and attacked with his palm. There was a loud rumble. Thousands of ripples whistled. Countless figures who were kneeling in front of the altar exploded. The power of the life sacrifice passed through time and space and spread to the ancient battlefield. As the power of life entered his body, Di Mingtian's eyes shone brightly. The power of his palm increased by several times. With a bang, the Venerable in front of him was sent flying. Ugh! Bai Yu the Venerable stabilized himself 100 feet away. He spat out a mouthful of blood and looked at the silver-robed man in front of him. He couldn't hide his shock. Who is this person? How can he be so powerful? Chapter 754. In the ancient battlefield, the Eastern Emperor Bel had appeared. Baiyue had set the sky. The moment he tried to seize the bell, he was thwarted in one move, and blood dyed the sky. The man standing in the sky wore a luxurious silver battle robe. A silver beaded mask covered half of his face, and an extremely powerful energy flowed around him, causing the sky to shake. Di Mingtian, who had just shown his power, shocked everyone with one palm. Boundless pressure quickly spread out. Baiyue was injured, and the chessboard's power in the sky immediately weakened. The sovereigns shook off the restraints and rushed toward the Eastern Emperor Bel at the same time. Forbidden Dark Seal, 6 Sins Annihilation. 5 sovereigns arrived at the same time. Di Mingtian raised his hand, and his eyes shone with purple light. The sun, moon, and stars appeared. His divine essence surged, and an indescribably terrifying power spread out, blocking the combined power of the 5 sovereigns. After a moment of stalemate, the purple light spread out, and the 5 sovereigns flew back, retreating several steps. An unexpected change. Outside the battle, Shenji looked at the silver-robed man in the sky, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. This person was even stronger than before. Shenji, aren't you going to do anything? An illusory figure in a silver-gray cloak walked out from the sky. Didn't you also not do anything? Shenji said calmly. This item doesn't belong to me. Why bother? The Dawn Moon Tower Master smiled. The Master of the Eastern Celestial Realm is already dead. The Eastern Emperor Bel is an ownerless item. Why do you say that? Shenji said indifferently. Let's not beat around the bush. Does Shenji really think that anyone can control the Donghuang Bell? The Waning Moon House Master looked over and said. Ha! Shenji smiled indifferently. Immortal items have spirits. Naturally, they won't easily recognize anyone as their master. However, it's been hundreds of thousands of years since the collapse of the celestial realm. Even the spirit has been wiped out by time. If the spirit of the Eastern Emperor Bel disappeared so easily, it wouldn't be qualified to be used by the Master of the Eastern Celestial Realm, right? The Dawn Moon Tower Master replied. Shenji didn't argue. He looked at the battle and said indifferently, there's no point in arguing. Let's just wait and see. The Dawn Moon Tower Master didn't say anything else. Her illusory figure disappeared. After the two finished talking, the battle in the sky had reached its climax. Di Mingtian was fighting 6 sovereigns, and they were at a disadvantage. Dong! As their ultimate moves collided, the shockwaves rippled out, and the Eastern Emperor Bel was affected. Bell chimes rang out one after another, and the heaven and earth in all directions were destroyed by the bell chimes. Mountains collapsed and the earth caved in, as if it was the end of the world. When Di Mingtian and the other venerables saw this, they retreated hastily. However, they were still half a step too late. They were instantly injured by the bell chimes. Specks of vermilion fell as the venerables condensed their essence to suppress the surging blood qi in their bodies. Looking at the Eastern Emperor Bel floating in the void, their expressions became increasingly solemn. In a deadlock situation, with a strong enemy in front of them and the immortal bell difficult to collect, the venerables hesitated for a moment, unable to make a decision. Di Mingtian sneered when he saw the expressions of the sovereigns. He took a step forward and arrived in front of the ancient bell. With a flip of his palm, the heavenly might rumbled. In the unknown world, in front of the sacrificial altar, tens of thousands of figures exploded. The power of sacrifice surged through time and space, surging into the Di Mingtian's body to resist the backlash from the immortal bell. Just as Di Mingtian was about to succeed, the aura in the mountain range suddenly stagnated. Boundless sword intent spread out, and in the next instant, a dazzling sword light soared into the sky, piercing through the air. Knowing destiny. At the same time, the eyes of the young experts from the inner world narrowed as they looked in the direction of the sword light. He had finally made a move. When the sword light arrived, Dimingtian's expression sank. He changed the direction of his palm and met the incoming sword light head-on. When the two extreme powers collided, the void exploded, and a destructive force spread out. The terrifying shockwave caused the immortal bell to alert itself once more. The bell chimes shook the void for thousands of miles. Dimingtian's expression changed slightly. He erupted with energy to block the bell's waves. Sword form, bury the heavens. The moment the immortal bell showed its might, Hong Yi appeared in the distance. She slashed with her sword, and the clouds in the sky changed color. A terrifying pressure pressed down. Dimingtian's expression became serious. He moved his palms to block the attacks from both sides. With a loud rumble, the bell's waves and sword light dissipated. Dimingtian let out a soft groan as blood quietly dripped down, dyeing his silver battle robe red. Impudent. Being injured for the first time, Dimingtian furrowed his brows in anger. He raised his hand and condensed the essence of heaven and earth. Suddenly, violent lightning fell from the sky, and the might of the heavens and seas surged for thousands of miles. The extreme heavenly might illuminated the horizon. Seeing this, Hong Yi condensed her essence. The wind and clouds on the immortal slaying sword changed. The sword light shone brightly as it slashed toward the immortal bell. Shameless. Dimingtian's expression turned cold. His figure flashed and instantly blocked in front of the immortal bell. The might of thunder shot out to meet the sword light. With a rumble, the thunder drowned out the sword light. In the blink of an eye, Hong Yi had already arrived in front of him. Her immortal sword was dazzling as it flashed past. Dimingtian raised his hand to block the sword. The moment his palm and sword collided, Hong Yi disappeared again. She arrived behind the immortal bell and slashed at it again. Dong! The Eastern Emperor trembled, and the bell's waves shook. The powerful force spread out for thousands of miles. Hong Yi waved her hand, and the green cauldron appeared to block the bell's waves. With a loud rumble, the bell's waves collided with the green cauldron. The green cauldron trembled violently, but after a moment, it returned to normal. On the other side, Dimingtian turned his hand to block the bell's waves again. With a loud rumble, he took 2 steps back. In the void, Hong Yi stood quietly. A drop of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. The green cauldron blocked most of the bell's power, but some of the aftershocks still hurt her body. In this dangerous battle, in just a blink of an eye, life and death had almost taken place. Outside the battle, the venerables kept retreating, unwilling to be affected by the battle. Only wisdom exists in the world, Marquis Zhiming. On the peak, in front of the tall red harp, Wu Qingying looked at the red figure in the battle and said slowly. Without a doubt, Zhiming's wisdom was the reason why he could fight against experts who were much stronger than him ever since he entered the martial arts world. His observation was meticulous, and he used all the power he could. This was the real reason why Zhiming was able to live until today. In the void, in the battle, 2 experts were facing each other. Zhiming in red looked at the person in front of him coldly. His calm face never changed. Between the two, the immortal bell floated up and down. Ancient runes could be vaguely seen on the bell. An indescribable power of law flowed around it. A true immortal item couldn't be desecrated by mortals. With a light step, Dimingtian used his supreme cultivation to instantly take the initiative. His vast palm drew the thunder and struck towards the former. Hong Yi took a step and moved in the wind. As she dodged the attack, the immortal sword's baleful aura rose. The sword swept over, wanting to kill. The power of the forbidden dark seal is unparalleled in the world. Dimingtian snorted coldly. The dark chi on his palm soared into the sky. The vast power blocked the sword. A pool of blood splashed out. The immortal slaying sword's momentum changed again. With a boom, it slashed the immortal bell. Dong! The immortal bell rang, shaking the world. The bell's waves were boundless and spread rapidly. Hateful! Di Mingtian turned his palm to block the bell's waves. Ignoring his blood, he took a step forward and attacked again. Behind the green cauldron, Hong Yi's figure moved quickly. Her absolute speed dissolved the storm-like attacks. Something's not right. On the ground, Luo Xingchen, who had been watching the battle for a long time, became serious. Ning Chen's main body had already returned. His foundation shouldn't be just like this. It's the phoenix body. Beside him, Mu Qiansheng said seriously. Where's his main body? Why is he still being mysterious? Luo Xingchen asked in a low voice. I'm not sure. Mu Qiansheng shook his head and said, with knowing Destiny's character, he won't do anything meaningless. Since he made such arrangements, he must have his own plans. Do we need to make a move? Luo Xingchen frowned and asked. Not for now. Mu Qiansheng looked at the battle in the void and said, with the immortal bell, the phoenix body's speed will be more threatening. The star venerables are afraid of the immortal bell's power and won't interfere easily. As long as Ning Chen's main body doesn't make a move, it means he still has power. We don't have to rush to make a move, so as not to disrupt his plan. While the two were talking, on the other side of the mountain, the white-haired demonic cultivator in black stood quietly, watching the battle. He also didn't make a move. He knew very well that with knowing Destiny's wisdom, there must be other arrangements. Beside the demonic cultivator, Luo Fei's eyes flashed. Among the people from the Divine Prefecture, Marquis knowing Destiny was definitely the most unpredictable person, excluding his martial arts. He had been calculating step by step to live to this day. In terms of martial arts, knowing Destiny might not be as good as many people, but in terms of wisdom, he was the best in the world. After helping Marquis knowing Destiny get the immortal bell, we should go find our own celestial fate. After watching for a long time, Luo Fei looked at the person beside her and said softly. Xia Zi was silent. After a while, he nodded in agreement. The road ahead was long, and the demonic path was unpredictable. He also had to improve his strength as soon as possible. In addition to dealing with unknown dangers, he also had to find a way to refine the mysterious power in his body. The Dawn Moon Tower Master, the ninth son of Mo Men, what are you planning? In front of a mountain peak, Shen Ji was watching the battle. Thoughts flashed in his eyes. The Dawn Moon Tower Master hadn't made a move yet, which was what puzzled him the most. He always had a feeling that the Dawn Moon Tower Master and the ninth son of Mo Men must have reached some kind of agreement. From the opening of the Mystic Realm to the current battle for the Immortal Bell, there was something unusual about it. Others might not be able to sense it, but he had known the Dawn Moon Tower Master for hundreds of years, so he more or less knew something about her. In the battle between the two experts was getting more and more intense. Borrowing the power of the Immortal Bell, the Phoenix body was using its full strength to deal with Di Mingtian. With absolute speed, it avoided the dangers of life and death time after time. As the battle reached its climax, Di Mingtian's expression became colder and colder. His attacks were condensed, causing the wind and clouds to howl. You still haven't finished? In the mountain range, the silver-robed man looked at the plain-clothed young man in front of him and asked. How can a heavenly bestowal restriction be completed so easily? The plain-clothed young man calmly replied. He didn't stop the imprint on his hand, continuing to do what he was doing. Have you thought about the consequences of doing this? You're going against the entire world. The silver-robed man reminded him. If I don't do this, will those venerables give up? My past experiences have taught me many things. First, when it's possible to let people off, one should be lenient. Second, I should strike first to gain the initiative, cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots. The plain-clothed young man coldly said. His eyes were filled with killing intent. What happened in the central continent wouldn't happen a second time. He swore. Chapter 755. Under the moonlight, the battlefield was overflowing with murderous light. The endless flames of war spread, and no one dared to take a step closer. In the battle, the two of them didn't fear the might of the immortal bell at all. Their killing moves were boundless, and when their attacks collided, the scene of the heavens collapsing and the earth sinking could be seen. How long do you think you can stop me? Di Mingtian raised his hand and repelled the former's attack. He activated his vast essence again, and the wind and thunder roared. When the lightning arrived, Red Robe flashed by, and Zhu Xian followed suit. The majestic sword might slashed apart the heavy lightning, and the might of the heavens was shaken. Dong! The immortal bell rang, and the lightning and sword light dissipated. The two of them retreated again. Red drops fell, dyeing the sword red. The two sides of the immortal bell looked at each other coldly, and their killing intent was clear. The immortal bell's remaining power rippled, and the space around the two of them collapsed. It was an extremely powerful immortal artifact, and the mortal world could not withstand its power. After 100 moves, the situation became clear. Although they had the help of the immortal bell, the difference in their foundation and cultivation made the situation tilt. The blood-stained immortal sword hummed softly. Baleful qi lingered in the sword, but the emotionless eyes did not waver. Be careful, I'm going to get serious. Di Mingtian said coldly as he raised his ultimate move. Instantly, the 9 heavens darkened as boundless nether qi condensed into clouds that stretched for thousands of miles. Muffled thunder resounded throughout the universe. The immortal bell is yours. Extreme power descended upon the world. Hong Yi actually retreated without a fight. He took a step forward and quickly left. Di Mingtian's expression sank, but he did not chase. His figure flashed, and he appeared in front of the Eastern Emperor Bell. The immortal bell was about to be lost. The faces of the venerables changed. Without saying anything, they stepped forward again to take over the battle. At the same time, many experts who had been hiding in the mountain range chose to attack. They rushed out to fight for the immortal opportunity. Seeing this, Reverend Baiyue's eyes flashed. He also wanted to fight for the immortal opportunity. Baiyue, wait! Just as he was about to attack, Shenji transmitted his voice to stop Baiyue. Reverend Baiyue's figure subconsciously paused. He was puzzled, and his eyes suddenly shrank. Within 100 miles of the Eastern Emperor Bell, a blood-colored beam of light shot up into the sky and into the starry sky, instantly engulfing all the cultivators who were near the bell. In front of the light pillar, a red-clothed figure walked out. Looking at the trapped venerables, the killing intent in his eyes was bone-chilling. This is, in front of the mountain peak, Shenji looked at the blood-colored light pillar that trapped the honorables. The shock on his face could not be concealed. The seal of the underworld and the immortal slaughtering baleful qi. Senior Shenji, Reverend Baiyu, this is a personal matter. Please step back. In the void, Hong Yi turned her head and said calmly. She said. Baiyue the Venerable recovered from her shock. Her face was full of fear. If Shenji had not warned her, she would have been trapped in the light pillar. What was this brat trying to do? Ninth son of Mo Gate, what are you trying to do? Reverend Moon growled. Clean up the filth, Red Shirt said calmly. Do you know what your actions mean? Reverend Baiyue's face turned colder and colder. Going against the entire world. Why? Is it that serious? Red Shirt asked calmly. Lunatic. Reverend Baiyue said coldly. Reverend, if you want to stop him, it's not too late. However, if you attack now, you'll become an enemy of Knowing Destiny. Knowing Destiny will no longer care about the way of a gentleman, Red Shirt said indifferently. Impudent. Reverend Baiyue was furious. Just as he was about to attack, he was stopped. Baiyue, don't be rash. You can't stop him right now, Shenji said telepathically. Do you want to watch the honorables die here? If that happens, the entire world will descend into chaos. Reverend Baiyue replied. She did not care if the honorables died or not, but she could not ignore the battle that would ensue if they died. The situation will change. Moreover, the honorables are not easy to deal with. Don't get involved, Shenji advised. Reverend Baiyue's eyes flashed with hesitation. At this moment, another telepathic message came. Reverend Baiyue's expression changed again. Baiyue, don't get involved. The honorables have no chance of surviving. If you get involved, the ninth son of Mo Gate will not show mercy. Retreat. The illusory silver-robed figure appeared once more beside Shenji. Reverend Baiyue suppressed the waves in his heart. With a conflicted expression, he retreated. Seeing Reverend Baiyue leave, a white-robed figure walked out from Hong Yi's side. The two of them merged and walked into the pillar of light. Sorry for making you wait so long. Ning Chen spoke calmly as he looked at the honorables trapped in the Yellow Springs Forbidden Land. Ninth son of Mo Gate, what are you doing? Ziwei, Jin Yao, and the other honorables all asked coldly. I'll send you on your way. Ning Chen waved his hand, and an ancient zither appeared in front of him. An unconcealable murderous aura spread. It was so cold that it could be sensed even from 1,000 miles away. Yama King. Reverend Ing Qiong's expression changed. Hadn't this zither been lost long ago? How had it ended up in Mo Gate's ninth son's hands? What's wrong? Is there something wrong? Asked Venerable Lingshu when he saw the change in Ing Qiong's expression. Reverend Ing Qiong suppressed the shock in his heart and reminded, that is the inherited divine weapon of the White Tigers. It is used for killing. Everyone, be careful. The zither is my weakest skill. Everyone, please be careful. As soon as he finished speaking, the sound of the King of Hell rang out. The void instantly fell silent, and the night grew even darker. A night without any splendor descended. In the next moment, a great terror appeared. With Yama King as the center, a blood-red wave spread out. Its terrifying power destroyed everything in an instant. Seeing this, the honorables immediately jumped out of the way. However, a moment later, their expressions changed. The zither wave spread out and hit the immortal bell. Immediately, an even more terrifying bell sound rang out. Yama King judged life, and the Yellow Springs opened the way. Bang! One of the honorables couldn't dodge in time, and his arm was swept by the bell wave. Blood exploded and dyed the sky red. Impossible! How could Mo Gate's ninth son have such terrifying attainments in the zither? Outside the battle, Shenji's expression was grave. This son's attainments in the sword were already shocking, but with his talent, it was impossible for him to have the energy to learn the zither. A moment later, Shenji seemed to have thought of something. He looked at the illusory figure and said, "It's you. Music is nothing more than a pastime for me. Giving it away to someone isn't a big deal. The important thing is that this son can afford it," said the Dawn Moon Pavilion's master indifferently. No wonder Pavilion Master hasn't done anything yet. Even the Pavilion Master would need to rest for a while to forcibly build a foundation for someone else, said Shenji coldly. He really hadn't thought that the Dawn Moon Pavilion's master would be willing to spend so much on this son. It was truly beyond his expectations. The more you pay, the more you get back. Moreover, there is no need for high risks to have high returns. Apart from this, there is no other thing in the world, said the Dawn Moon Pavilion's master indifferently. Not hesitating to give up part of your foundation to help this son. Pavilion Master, I'm very curious. What is your so-called return? Sneered Shenji. An opportunity for the fourth realm. The Dawn Moon Pavilion's master's eyes narrowed. Chapter 756. The cold night was bleak, and the sound of the zither was ethereal. In the sky, the king of hell played, and the massacre began. The divine artifacts and the celestial bell echoed, and the underworld welcomed the people. It was indescribably terrifying. The blood-red zither waves surged, and wherever they passed, the sky collapsed, and everything collapsed. It was a shocking scene. With the divine zither in front and the celestial bell behind, the venerables were in a more difficult situation. They couldn't block it, nor could they not block it. The zither waves spread out one after another. In the mountain range, the young experts looked at the scene in the sky, and they couldn't hide the shock on their faces. Did the ninth son of the Mahist sect want to bury all the star venerables here? Dong! The zither waves hit the celestial bell, and the Eastern Emperor shook. The bell waves rippled, and the zither sounds and the bell sounds intertwined. The terrifying destructive power shook the area, and the sky and the earth lost its color. The massacre in the night, and the white clothes fluttered in the wind. There was no mercy in the cold eyes. The king of hell had accepted the order to eliminate all future troubles. The battle in the central prefecture was unforgettable. Qing Ning had sacrificed herself to protect him, and he didn't want to recall this memory ever again. This made Ji Ming even more ruthless. In the mountain range below, the woman in the blue dress had tears in her eyes, and they dripped down, wetting her clothes. Beside her, Erin stood quietly, looking at the silhouette in the sky. After a long while, she sighed softly and looked at the woman beside her. She was the only person in the world who could make him change so much. When would he do the same for her? The venerables are hopeless. Shen Ji, who was in front of the mountain peak, looked at the blood-red light pillar and sighed. After considering everything, he won't let the venerables live. The result of this battle has already been decided, the waning moon house master said calmly. Didn't you think about how chaotic the situation would be if the star venerables died? Baiyu the Venerable looked at the two and asked in a deep voice. As long as there are people, there will be conflicts. The situation will change sooner or later. Why can't we change it now? The waning moon house master said coldly. You're crazy. Baiyu the Venerable was so angry that he didn't know what to say. The ninth son of the Mahist sect was crazy, and the two star venerables didn't take it seriously. Huh? When the two of them were conversing, the most terrifying thing finally appeared in the air. An immortal bell that couldn't block the might of the immortal bell exploded apart, causing its blood and bones to scatter about in the air, dyeing the night sky red. In the forbidden land of Yellow Springs, the figures of the venerables were obstructed and unable to escape. They could only continuously resist the killing intent of the divine zither and the immortal bell. Yellow Springs, immortal slaying, flowing time, these are truly heaven-bestowed abilities. If the Eastern Emperor Bell and the ninth disciple of Mo Gate did not exist, the sovereigns might have been able to break the seal in a short period of time if they joined forces. However, they no longer had the chance to do so now. Shenji, do you still insist on your previous opinion? Asked the waning moon house master. Shenji was silent for a moment before nodding. I admit that this child's intelligence and strength are rare in this world. Even we cannot underestimate him. However, his greatest enemy right now is not us, but the heavens. The will of the heavens is difficult to deal with. The Tower Master should understand this principle better than anyone else. People say that humans can defeat the heavens, but that's only because mortals don't know the immensity of the heavens. Only after reaching our level do we gradually understand that humans cannot defeat the heavens. Let alone humans, even the masters of the four immortal worlds were defeated by the will of the heavens in the end. Actually, at the beginning, I also didn't believe it. However, I saw from this child what perseverance is. True perseverance. The master of the Dawn Moon Brothel looked ahead. Specks of light flashed in her eyes. Compared to us, his path is undoubtedly much more difficult. Shinji, have you ever seen him hesitate? I don't know if humans can really defeat the heavens, but if there is one person who can, it will definitely be him, said the master of the Dawn Moon brothel calmly. So, you choose him? Asked Shinji seriously. It's not that I choose him, but that reason makes me have to choose him. If I miss out on such a person, do you think there will be a second one? The heavens are not benevolent and treat all things as dogs. Even the 4 immortal worlds were unable to avoid the destruction of the heavens, let alone you and I. After cultivating for nearly 1,000 years, you and I have reached the most critical moment. Every step forward is extremely difficult. I hope that what I see in the future is rebirth and not destruction, said the Waning Moon House Master seriously. But in my eyes, this child will only bring destruction. Shinji looked at the battle ahead and said, filth needs to be purified. This is the philosophy of the gods. Perhaps the gods are right, murmured the Waning Moon House Master softly. Shinji frowned and asked, why do you say that? Nothing. You will know in the future. The Waning Moon House Master gently shook her head. In the sky, the battle had reached a critical moment. In the forbidden land of the underworld, knowing destiny, who had been waiting for a long time, seized the opportunity and played the song of the death of the king of hell. With a boom, the venerables were pushed back. Something's wrong. Hearing this, the venerables' expressions changed. However, it was already too late. The Eastern Emperor bell rang by itself. It was right in front of them, and its celestial might shook them. Dong! The celestial bell rang, and the 2 venerables closest to it couldn't react in time. The bell waves entered their bodies, causing them to stagger and vomit blood. Now, let the slaughter begin. Su-yi said coldly. In the next instant, Hong-yi left her body, and in an instant, the celestial slaying sword sealed their throats. It was an unbelievable scene. They were shocked and puzzled. The 2 venerables' heads flew up, and they took one last look at the human world. Hong-yi's body looked like it was bathed in blood. With the celestial slaying sword in her hand, she looked like the god of death once again. She looked coldly at the remaining venerables, emotionless and emotionless. Both of them appeared at the same time. One restrained, while the other killed. This was the most terrifying combination, and it turned the ancient battlefield into a living hell. At the same time, in the boundless void, a pleasure boat was drifting in the middle of the Mi River. It was a lonely boat drifting in the middle of the lake, and it never reached the shore. The devil guarding the divine tree no longer killed. Day after day, it watered the immortal peach tree. On the shore, a young girl was practicing her sword. Her sword technique was becoming more and more mature. Wild wasn't here, so knowing destiny was teaching her. Day after day, year after year. Teacher, I've finished practicing. After finishing her sword practice, Lingji looked at the pleasure boat in the middle of the lake. Su-yi walked out. His figure flashed, and he arrived on the shore. He looked at her and said calmly, I'll teach you the next move tomorrow. Go back and rest. Thank you, teacher. Ganoderma's face lit up with joy as she happily thanked him. She then put away her sword and happily returned home. After the young girl left, Su-yi calmly looked at the divine tree. A trace of pain flashed in his eyes. Soon, the phoenix body had gone to find the time restriction. This time, it would definitely succeed. In the ancient battlefield, King Yama's song ended. The venerables' corpses fell from the sky. It was so glaring and ironic. When the devil cultivators restrained their sharpness, the virtuous ones personally opened the path to hell. Was this a joke from the heavens, or was it a mockery from fate? At this moment, who could tell? Chapter 757. In the ancient battlefield, the battle for the immortal bell came to an end. The ascendants fell one after another, their blood dyed the night sky red. No one could change the outcome. The Eastern Emperor bell vibrated for an unknown number of times. It sounded again and again, like a death knell from the yellow springs, urging people to take their lives. Now, you are the only one left. Hong Yi turned around and looked at the silver-clothed figure standing in the air as she said coldly. Their eyes met, and their words were cold and detached. The situation was abnormally heavy. The phoenix's body was dyed red, and killing intent was revealed. When the sandpiper and clam fight, the fisherman benefits. I have truly underestimated you. Di Mingtian looked at the red figure in front of him and said coldly. Now that the situation had come to this, the phoenix body didn't say anything else. It took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of Qin Wentian. The immortal slaying sword soared through the sky, displaying its murderous intent. Thousands of feet of sword light cut through the bloody night. With a flip of his palm, Di Mingtian caught the sword. With a loud bang, he took half a step forward and gathered his qi to counterattack. At such a close distance, the power of the palm was shocking. In the instant of danger, a vermilion blade appeared. Plain clothes held her sword horizontally and blocked the incoming palm force. The two of them were unparalleled under the heavens. In the next moment, the two of them converged and became one again. One body dual transformation. Di Mingtian looked at the silhouette before him with a cold expression. He had planned for a long time, but he did not expect to make a mistake here. He was too careless. Before he had time to think, Bai Yi moved again, the immortal slaying baleful qi surged, a terrifying might rose to the extreme. With a loud bang, the sword and palm collided. One was tyrannical, the other was sharp. In the final battle, they no longer held anything back. As they moved, their qi pierced through the sky, drawing out rays of death. Di Mingtian's movements were restricted by the god-trapping prohibition. Up until now, his knowing destiny technique had also been worn out. The two of them knew each other well, so their moves were even more ruthless and merciless. Why aren't you using your zither anymore? Is it because you can't play it? Di Mingtian sneered. He gathered a vast amount of energy in his palm and slapped the incoming sword. When they clashed again, the shockwaves shook the area. Both sides were forced to retreat, suffering a backlash of their own. Bai Yi's sword was like a bolt of lightning. Her sword's momentum didn't change, but her strength was slightly inferior. The difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. It wasn't easy to kill so many venerables. Even someone as strong as a knowing destiny state cultivator would consume a lot of energy. The sounds of battle rang out unceasingly, the boundless pressure fluctuated endlessly, the peak above the peak, transcending the limits. Snow attracted thunder, the might of the heavens shook. So you really are no longer at your peak. Sensing the difference in the former's moves, Di Mingtian's expression turned even colder. He activated his cultivation technique again, resisting the restraints of the yellow springs as his moves became even more domineering. So what if you're not at your peak? As long as you're in this divine restriction, no one can save your life. Ning Chen replied coldly. He clenched his left hand and the celestial trapping sword flew up from the ground. It was surrounded by a red light and murderous intent. With a loud boom, the two swords shook the sky. Di Mingtian's blood and qi stagnated. A drop of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth and dyed his silver battle robe red. Impudent. Di Mingtian's eyes turned cold when his body was injured. Dark qi surged out of his body and pushed Di Mingtian back. Ning Chen stopped himself a few feet away. He raised his hand to wipe off the blood at the corner of his mouth. His figure flashed as he charged forward again. The celestial sword's display of its might added some variables to the already difficult battle. The sharpness of the celestial sword was unparalleled in the world. Di Mingtian could resist the celestial might with a flip of his palm. The sword could block it, but the sword will couldn't. His injuries accumulated and became heavier. Forbidden Dark Seal, Extreme Een Ghost Judgment. The situation gradually became clear. Di Mingtian didn't want to give up just like that. He used his ultimate move, and the heavy energy circled around his body. Netherworld Gate, Ghost King Judgment. This was the first time Ning Chen saw such a horrifying phenomenon. His expression turned serious. He gathered his energy and gathered his chi. The two swords coiled up, and martial arts appeared in the world. Heaven and earth resonance, life and death defying fate. The battle rumbled as different martial arts clashed. Blood splattered everywhere. The silver-robed figure flew out and vomited blood. The final attack couldn't be missed. The white-robed figure flew out with the celestial sword in her hand. It was sharp and murderous. Is it that easy? The moment he succeeded, the silver light around Di Mingtian shone brightly. Destructive power spread out and pushed Di Mingtian back. In an instant, Di Mingtian took a step back and used the momentum to retreat. He formed hand seals with both hands, and his might soared into the sky. At the same time, outside the ancient battlefield, Ying Qianjiang sensed something. He also formed hand seals with both hands, responding to Di Mingtian. The two formed hand seals together, and heaven and earth responded. The yellow spring forbidden land couldn't stop them and started shaking violently. Mo Gate's ninth son, you have won today's battle. However, this is just the beginning. We will meet again in the future. Right after he spoke, Di Mingtian's figure gradually disappeared in the silver light. After a while, he disappeared completely. The silver light dissipated, and the strange divine forbidden land regained its calm. The world stopped shaking, no longer shaking. Up in the sky, Ning Chen looked ahead and narrowed his eyes. Even the divine forbidden land couldn't trap someone. It seemed like the future wouldn't be peaceful. A cold wind blew, and the moon was cold. After a bloody battle, all that could be seen was the aftermath of destruction. It was so glaring. Su Yi stepped forward and gently touched the immortal bell in front of her. A hint of emotion flashed in her eyes. Was this the legendary immortal artifact? To think that someone could be so ruthless in order to obtain it. The Eastern Emperor bell rang softly. Sensing the calmness in Su Yi's heart, it also gradually calmed down. The phoenix appeared and opened its mouth. A strong suction force came out, trying to swallow the immortal artifact. The Eastern Emperor bell shook. Just as it was about to resist, the yellow spring forbidden land quickly shrank, stopping the immortal bell that was about to ring. The phoenix swallowed the sky, and the immortal bell disappeared into the phoenix's stomach. The battle calmed down, and the divine forbidden land dissipated. Ning Chen walked out and glanced at the shocked gazes in the mountain range. He didn't care anymore and left. A moment later, Su Yi appeared in front of the mountain peak. Looking at the three of them, she said, "Pavilion Master Dawn Moon, thank you. It was a fair trade. We each took what we needed." "There's no need to be polite," the Pavilion Master replied. "I will abide by the agreement. From now on, I won't fight for anything in the ancient battlefield," Ning Chen said calmly. The Pavilion Master smiled and said, "Brother Ning, do you think it's unfair? I can give you a bit more." "There's no need." Ning Chen shook his head. "Pavilion Master, you know that my ambitions don't lie here. People should be content with what they have. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." "You want to leave the ancient battlefield?" Shen Ji frowned. "There's nothing for me to do here." "It's good for everyone that I leave," Ning Chen said indifferently. "Ninth disciple of Mo Gate, do you know what kind of trouble you've caused today?" The Reverend Moon Reverend could no longer hold back the fury in his heart. Ning Chen looked over at the woman and said indifferently, "I know. But so what?" "You," the Reverend Moon Reverend was speechless. He was so angry that he couldn't speak. "The three of you, I'll take my leave now." Ning Chen didn't say anything else. He cupped his fists and flew away. A generation's genius. Shen Ji sighed as he watched Su Yi leave. In the current younger generation, who would dare to call themselves a genius with such a person present? There is no such thing as a free lunch in this world, let alone a mortal with ordinary talent. If one day Shinji learns of this child's past, he will know that the words heaven's chosen will not be enough to describe this child to this day. The house mistress of the Dawn Moon House said softly. Her shadow faded and disappeared into the night. Two women stood side by side in a continuous mountain range. They looked at the silhouette in plain clothes leaving in the distance. Their eyes flashed with brilliance. Aaron, I'm leaving. Qing Ning looked at the woman beside her and said softly. Aaron Mingqing shifted her gaze to the former and sternly said, have you thought this through? There might be many unknown immortal opportunities buried in this ancient battlefield. Now that the venerables have fallen, this is our best chance. There's no need. Qing Ning smiled and shook her head. Whether there are immortal opportunities or not isn't important to me. I only came here for him. Now that he's leaving, there's no need for me to stay. After saying that, Qing Ning smiled again. She took a step forward and flew up into the sky. Under the moonlight, Su Yi and Qing Yi's figures gradually merged and disappeared into the distance. Aaron Mingqing watched the two of them disappear with a complicated look in her eyes. Only now did she know why Ji Ming had slaughtered the entire central state for her. So the love of the world was so sincere. It was so sincere that not the slightest impurity could enter it. He's gone. On the other side of the mountain range, Luo Xingqian looked away and said. That's not what he wants. Obtaining an immortal bell is enough for him. Let's go, we should also go and find our own opportunities. Mu Qianshang said indifferently and turned to walk into the depths of the mountain range. Z, let's go too. 1,000 miles away, Luo Fei said softly. Okay. Xia Zi nodded and looked away and left. On the starry sky path, Su Yi and Qing Yi walked side by side. From the very beginning, the two grew up together. Their silence had already surpassed 1,000 words. Have you decided? 3 months later, by the riverside, Qing Ning looked at the man beside her and asked softly. Yes. Ning Chen nodded. Then go, I'll wait for you here. Qing Ning smiled. I'll come back alive. Ning Chen looked at the woman in front of him and promised. I believe you. Qing Ning replied softly and raised her hand to caress his face. She smiled through her tears. Empress, do you see? The young man who needed to hide under your wings back then has truly grown up now. I'm leaving. Ning Chen said softly and looked at the divine tree on the lakeside. Without further delay, he walked away. On the boat in the lake, the black-clothed demon's figure faded at the same time, turning into a stream of light and disappearing. 3 bodies in one body, after 30 years, they once again became one. Taishian Star, Ancient Glory Secret Realm. In front of the most majestic palace, a middle-aged man in a green robe stood quietly. His black hair danced in the wind and his powerful aura surged. He stood between heaven and earth, but heaven and earth kept trembling, unable to bear this terrifying existence. In the secret realm, the disciples were busy with their tasks. No one noticed the approaching storm. At this moment, Sui walked over from afar. The cold wind could not stop her arrogance. Knowing destiny feared no one. Gods were like this, and so was the first person in the treading immortal realm. Venerable ancient glory, knowing destiny seeks guidance. After 100 steps, knowing destiny stopped. With a clang, he stabbed the immortal sword in his hand into the ground. The sky was filled with red light. In the red light, his cold eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Chapter 758. He had cultivated for nearly 40 years, experienced 1,000 tribulations, and was filled with pride. He would rather die than submit. Today, all three of his bodies were gathered, and because of the time restriction, he challenged the number one person in the treading immortal realm. The rustling cold wind blew up the sand that covered their eyes. Their white clothes fluttered in the wind, and their fighting spirit shook the world. Honorable Gu Yao looked at the plain-clothed young man before him, and a glint flashed through his calm eyes. Was this the ninth disciple of Mo Gate that all the honorables of the various regions feared? With a wave of his hand, a jade slip flew out and inserted itself into the stone wall in the distance. The aura of time flowed through it, making it seem ancient and ancient. Shen Wu, you can take away the time seal, said Sovereign Gu Yao. Please. There was no need to say anything more about the current situation. Ning Chen waved his right hand, causing immortal extermination to appear. Baleful energy roared, and it was heavy, vast, and might shook the world. The immortal slaying sword was unleashed. Heaven and earth shook, the immortal trapping sword cried, and killing intent spread. The two swords appeared at the same time, resonating with each other from a distance. The bright moon in the ninth heaven suddenly changed color and became dim. The battle began, and there was no room for mercy. The two figures moved at the same time. Sharp swords and vast palms, shocking the world. The first immortal treader had an unparalleled cultivation base. His palm strike was like a thunderstorm, frightening even gods and ghosts. In the first move, the knowing destiny state was half a step behind. The combination of the three bodies and the peerless foundation was difficult to overcome in the face of the world-shocking power. The knowing destiny state retreated and the earth cracked. After gaining the upper hand, Honorable Gu Yao took another step forward. His palm energy was merciless. Ning Chen turned his feet and avoided the palm strike. The sword light broke through the sky and cut open the night sky. It was an ordinary move, but it had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Honorable Gu Yao did not dodge. Instead, he turned his palm around and took the immortal sword head-on. As the palm and the sword met, the enraged Xinyuan wave shook violently. The ground around the two of them cracked continuously. Dust and sand swirled wildly, covering the sky and the moon. The battle was so close that it was shocking. The knowing destiny state cultivator who had returned with three bodies was facing the most powerful man in the world. He did not back down and fought head-on. Move after move, the immortal sword and the vast palm collided under the night sky. Relying on his peerless cultivation, Honorable Gu Yao did not hold back at all. His moves were powerful and domineering, breaking the sky and sinking the sea. On the other hand, knowing destiny had an endless supply of the origin energy of the three bodies. His peerless foundation activated the supreme will on his sword. His sword was like a dragon breaking through a city. His every move was ordinary but extremely sharp. This was a battle at the pinnacle, rarely seen in the world. Palm and sword, transcending the limits of the heavens. 10 moves collided, and the secret realm shook. Layers of formations collapsed one after another, unable to withstand the extreme power. Seeing this, Honorable Gu Yao narrowed his eyes and stomped his foot. Instantly, the ground beneath their feet rumbled and rose continuously. Mountains rose from the ground, reaching thousands of feet high and reaching the sky. On the high peak, the two of them stared at each other. After 10 rounds of probing, they both knew what was going on. If you don't have true ability and only rely on 2 damaged immortal swords, you have no chance of winning this battle. Honorable Gu Yao said coldly. With a flip of his left palm, the wind and clouds in the 9 heavens suddenly changed. Waves of clouds rolled and fell from the sky. The waves of clouds crashed down, and the force of breaking the heavens shook the heavens. Expanse after expanse of space collapsed and turned into nothingness. Ning Chen's eyes darkened as he clenched his left hand into a fist. Blood mist swirled out, and a dazzling green sword appeared. It was a 4 essences sword. Water, fire, wind, and thunder coiled around each other, reinforcing and restraining each other. The sword will broke through the air and soared into the sky. Above the 9 heavens, the two moves collided. Turbulence roared, and the space within a radius of 5,000 kilometers twisted violently. On Taishian planet, many martial artists were shocked as they looked at the high peak in the distance. Their eyes were filled with shock. Who was that? How could he fight against Honorable Gu Yao? On the high peak of the ancient Yao secret realm, the battle between the two was reaching its climax. The two of them were fearless and their killing moves were earth-shattering. In an instant, the mountains were torn apart. Cloud Tower 11th style, sky of wind and thunder. After 100 moves, Honorable Gu Yao's palms moved and used his ultimate move. In an instant, the wind changed color, the wind howled, and thunder rumbled. It was a shocking scene as if the end of the world had come again. When the ultimate move arrived, the color of Ning Chen's eyes changed instantly. They were as dark as the abyss, and demonic chi filled the sky. 6 ultimates of the Sky Demon, Samsara Calamity. The Sky Demon ultimates reappeared in the world. Ning Chen took a step forward, and his sword went against the world. A huge whirlpool appeared in the wind and clouds, and the cycle of reincarnation was endless, swallowing everything. As the two ultimate powers clashed, Ning Chen's figure retreated half a step. A drop of red dripped down, and he was injured for the first time. Is this all you can do? Honorable Gu Yao didn't give him time to breathe. He rushed forward and slammed his palm towards Ning Chen's chest. In an instant, a red light shone and the phoenix moved 100 feet away in an instant. Honorable Gu Yao squinted his eyes and looked at the figure 100 feet away. This was the second time. The attribute of the body changed instantly. This kid had a lot of secrets. Earth Scroll, Earth Destruction, Mountain Destruction. 100 feet away, Ning Chen waved the sword in his left hand and stabbed it into the ground. The Earth Scroll opened again. When the Earth Scroll appeared, tens of thousands of swords soared into the sky. It was unavoidable and swallowed the clouds. Seeing this, Honorable Gu Yao's face turned solemn. He took a step forward and jumped into the sky. Immediately, his hands started to absorb the chi in the sky. The wind and clouds within 10,000 miles started to gather. In an instant, tens of thousands of swords were about to reach him. The wind and clouds blocked the swords. After a moment of stalemate, the red light appeared again and Su Yi's figure disappeared. She instantly appeared in front of Honorable Gu Yao. Sword form, formless sword. The sword of contemporaneity shone brightly. The concentrated sword broke through the clouds and approached Honorable Gu Yao's heart. Too slow. Honorable Gu Yao retracted his true chi and snorted coldly. His palm condensed into 9 heavens thunder and smashed toward the person in front of him. The palm energy was dazzling. Ning Chen's body was surrounded by wind and snow. He activated the life scroll and met the attack head-on. With a bang, Su Yi took 2 steps back. Before the red light faded, demonic chi rose again. 6 ultimates of the Sky Demon, Demonic Flame Prairie. The immortal sword turned into a demonic blade. Demonic flames burned the 9 heavens. Demonic flames swept out and burned the world. This was the first time the world had seen the world-burning demonic flame. Honorable Gu Yao's face turned gloomy. He flipped his left hand and a blue wave came crashing down. Water and fire clashed. After a moment of stalemate, the wave broke through the demonic flames and continued forward. Ning Chen swung his sword to block the attack. The hand holding the sword was dyed red again. He took a step back and disappeared with a red light. Su Yi's sword slashed again. It was the same move, the same position. Your move is useless. Honorable Gu Yao was already prepared. He snorted coldly and used his protective Zhen Yuan to block the sword in his heart. For symbols divine seal, heavenly dragon tremble. The sword collided with the protective Zhen Yuan. In an instant, the sword's momentum changed again. Sword chi rose into the sky and a dragon roar shook the sky. With the dragon roar, Honorable Gu Yao's protective Jin Yuan became unstable and shook violently. Formless sword. Zhu Immortal attacked again. The sword gathered boundless demonic qi and instantly broke through Honorable Gu Yao's protective Jin Yuan. Sensing the danger, Honorable Gu Yao forcefully grabbed the sword with his left hand and slapped the former's chest with a backhand. Blood splashed out, dyeing the peak red. Su Yi was sent flying 300 meters away. The sword stabbed into the ground and stopped her. Blood kept dripping from Honorable Gu Yao's left hand. The sword qi was 1 inch in front of his heart. It's been 100 years. The feeling of being injured is really nostalgic. Honorable Gu Yao waved his hand to suppress the injury. He looked at the young man in front of him with a serious expression for the first time. Chapter 759. It was a cold night in the ancient Glory's secret realm. The moonlight was cold. Under the moonlight, an unprecedented battle was taking place. It was a battle of life and death. The towering mountain peak was gradually destroyed in the great battle. The mountain rocks crumbled and rolled down from the peak. Venerable Gu Yao, the first person to step into the celestial realm, the existence closest to the fourth realm, displayed his most shocking ability in this battle. Cloud Tower 11th style, endless waves. Reverend Gu Yao's heavenly form appeared once again. Reverend Gu Yao turned his palm over and in an instant, raging waves swept out, shocking the 9 heavens. The waves were wild and powerful, shaking the entire Taishian planet. The moment the move appeared, Bai Yi moved along with the sword. The sword was swift and fierce, suppressing the enemy's moves. The sword's shadow was fast, and the vast essence rolled. The two strong forces clashed in close proximity, shocking the world. The earth rumbled, and dust filled the sky. The difference in cultivation made the moves clear. Venerable Gu Yao shook the battle with one palm. Above the 9 heavens, raging waves suddenly descended. The heavenly might descended, and the sky lost its color. The heavy pressure descended, and the entire peak kept sinking, pressing into the ground. 6 unique celestial demons, star transformation. Unable to dodge, Ning Chen's eyes turned into an abyss. Demonic waves surged around his body. With a turn of his hand, the 9 stars swayed, and a vision appeared in the void. The huge shadow of the stars rapidly circled and soared into the sky. The King Clan's Sky Demon ultimate technique displayed its sharpness, boundless might blocking the descending cloud disk. After a single breath of deadlock, Bai Yi moved again. The immortal trapping sword that was inserted into the earth flew out, its peerless edge moving about. 3 swords danced, 100 styles in one breath. There was only one sword in the world. Venerable Gu Yao's expression was serious. In one breath, he condensed his essence to block 100 styles. He was the strongest opponent in 1,000 years, the only one at the peak. The sword light was dazzling, and the moonlight illuminated the sky. The 3 swords danced at the extreme speed. The rarely seen swords appeared for the first time. Boom! The 9 heavens shook. Blue chains pierced through the clouds and the stars, and fell from the sky. The sword resonated with the world, and a vision appeared, shocking the world. The swaying sound of the chains rang in the ears. A lifetime of martial arts, a lifetime of holding a sword, unrivaled in the world. Sword technique, heavenly sword. The sword shocked the world. Its unparalleled sharpness broke through the dark night. The dazzling sword light rose to the extreme and slashed down. When the heavenly sword appeared, it was incomparably peerless. The 9 heavens and 10 earths instantly dimmed. The world was silent, and there was only this sword. Honorable Gu Yao's expression turned solemn as he condensed his palm energy to block the incoming attack. Rumbling sounds could be heard as the first immortal was forced back for the first time. Forcing himself to the limit, the 1,000-year seal collapsed. Light shone around Venerable Gu Yao's body. A power that he had never seen before flowed, surpassing the world and reaching a new realm. Your sword technique is unique in this world, but if you don't enter the treading immortal realm, how can you pry into the heavens? A palm smashed outwards. Blood dyed the sand red. Bai Yi flew out more than 100 zhang, landing on the ground and vomiting blood. Celestial 3 proofs, star soul brilliance. At the pinnacle of the immortal treading realm, Honorable Guyao gathered the starlight in the sky with a flip of his hand, revealing a power that had never been seen before in the mortal world. The celestial pole 3 proofs shook the stars. Above the starry sky, beams of brilliance descended. The boundless night instantly turned into day. Under the might of the heavens, humans seemed so insignificant. The starry sky fell from the sky, destroying everything. The realm of the unknown was beyond understanding. In the sky beyond the sky, Ning Chen's expression turned solemn. He was still fearless in the face of destruction. The phoenix body and the demon body were formed. Immortal slaying and immortal trapping were in his hands. With the addition of the extreme vitality, the yin and yang formation appeared. Red and black formations rose. Yin and yang merged to resist the might of the heavens. Above the void, the Tai Chi formation blocked the starlight from descending. It rumbled and resounded through Taixien. After a moment of stalemate, the starlight broke through the formation and descended to the mortal world. The 3 swords blocked the might of the heavens. However, the might of the heavens was not something that could be stopped by mere mortals. The 3 bodies flew out together, staining the night sky with their blood. You are the first person in 100 years to be able to hold on until now. But, it's time to end this. The situation gradually became clear. Honorable Guyao did not want to hold back. He slowly raised his hands. As the brilliance flowed, the entire Taixien land shook violently. Everything quickly collapsed. Before the move of Purify the World was used, the world was already unable to bear it. The mountains and rivers on Taishien's star were upside down. Abnormal phenomena were everywhere. Knowing destiny stood up. The 3 bodies looked at the sky and were shocked. Above the 9 heavens, the moonlight spread out endlessly. The moonlight was thousands of miles, shaking the starry night. Celestial pole 3 proofs, Jing Yueshi. Extreme might descended. The moonlight purified the world. Wherever the light reached, all filth would be purified and vanish. At the moment of life and death, there was no way to retreat. Bai Yi moved, standing in the void. Her body was covered in snow, and the 4 scrolls spread out. 4 scrolls at the same time, no life in heaven and earth. Bai Yi rushed into the sky with 4 scrolls and her peerless foundation. She turned her palm to block the moonlight. An instant later, the moonlight pierced through Bai Yi's clothes. Blood splattered, and her body fell. The ground was dyed red with dust and sand. Bai Yi vomited blood. Her body was seriously injured, and her true qi was constantly dissipating. Bai Yi swept past. The azure dragon's power of regeneration poured into her body, suppressing her injuries. I will come back alive. I believe in you. Bai Yi's promise was vivid in her ears. She could not go back on it. Bai Yi vomited blood again. Her flawless clothes were blood red and dazzling. The time restriction cannot be lost. Even if I have to sacrifice everything. With the resolution in her heart, the phoenix body looked ahead and said calmly. The demon body stepped forward at the same time. The determination in her eyes did not waver. Ha! There was no way out. Ning Chen no longer hesitated. He shouted. Suddenly, the life scroll opened. Extreme cold air spread out. Heaven and earth trembled. The wind and snow surged. The entire Taixien planet changed. Heavy snow fell from the sky, drowning the world. Sensing that something was wrong, Honorable Guyao's expression sank. He used all his power. He raised his hand and condensed his true chi. His peerless technique reversed day and night. Celestial three signs, divine sun and heavenly blaze. The sun and moon changed. Under the divine sun's brilliance, the destructive power burned the world. 1,000 miles, 10,000 miles, 100,000 miles turned into a sea of divine flames. The celestial ultimate technique was immeasurable. The ability to surpass the limit was a calamity in the world. However, in the divine flames, the cold snow did not disappear. It fell on the world. In the wind and snow, the knowing destiny body rose into the sky. His clothes fluttered. The wind and snow around him rolled violently. He was like a true immortal descending to the mortal world. The aura in his body changed from life to death and merged into the forbidden technique. After 30 years, the forbidden technique reappeared after the blasphemy war. In an instant, the phoenix and demon bodies dissipated. Their foundation was completely devoured. The forbidden technique surpassed heaven and earth. Blood mist filled the sky and dyed the wind and snow red. Destruction of all living beings. The forbidden technique destroyed the world. Above the peak, the space collapsed one after another, forming horrifying black holes. Only the wind and snow stained with blood continued to rise and dyed the sky red. In the next moment, the two extremes collided. After a brief moment of silence, a world-shocking great terror appeared. The two extremes mutually annihilated each other, and the entire ancient Radiant's secret land collapsed. Enormous cracks extended for tens of thousands of li mountains were destroyed, and great rivers disappeared. In the chaotic aftermath, Honorable Guyao flew out. His green robe was dyed red. His true chi was in a mess. The moment he landed, his clothes appeared. The cold sword was about to reach Honorable Guyao's throat, but it stopped an inch away. You lost. Ning Qin said in a hoarse voice. Honorable Guyao's eyes narrowed. After a while, he said slowly, you can take the time forbidden technique away. Thank you. Ning Qin said calmly. He clenched his left hand, and the jade slip in the broken wall in the distance flew into his hand. Ning Qin didn't stay any longer. He waved his hand, put away the sword, and turned to leave. Looking at Ning Chen's departing figure, Honorable Gu Yao's gaze turned to several figures that had appeared not far away. His expression turned cold. Who told you to come? Honorable, we were worried that this child would harm you, so, in the darkness, at the front of several figures, the black-clothed man bowed and replied. Go to Black Moon Cliff and reflect on your mistakes for 30 years. Without my orders, you're not allowed to take half a step out, said Honorable Gu Yao coldly. Yes. Everyone obeyed and disappeared into the night. Honorable Gu Yao withdrew his gaze and looked at the rumbling world in front of him. What a good ninth son of Mo Gate. He was decisive and decisive. Who in the world could compare to him? Chapter 760. It was a quiet night by the riverside. Bai Yi, who had just experienced a great battle, was returning. Her blood energy was hard to conceal. Qing Ning saw Bai Yi in front of the god tree and quickly walked over. How are you? Qing Ning was worried. I'm fine. Ning Chen softly replied. He looked at the god tree and said, Sister Qing Ning, I'll be focusing on studying the time restriction for the next few days. I'll have to trouble you to take care of the god tree. Qing Ning nodded. She flipped her right hand and a letter appeared. She handed it to Bai Yi. Ruoshi used a secret technique to send this letter. She and Wule are fine. They're guests at Spirit Void Ji's house. Ji Yuqing is taking care of them, so you don't have to worry. Ning Chen took the letter and read it. He nodded. I'm relieved that they're fine. They can already take care of themselves. They have their own paths to walk. You don't have to worry about them, Qing Ning said softly. Ning Chen smiled tiredly and didn't say anything else. He took a step and flew towards the boat. Qing Ning's eyes flashed with worry as she watched the plainclothed figure disappear into the pleasure boat. She had sensed that his aura had clearly weakened by more than one level. Just what had happened to steal the time restriction? Back on the boat, Ning Chen took out a jade slip and began to study the endless changes of the time restriction. Time flew by like a shuttle, and 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Winter left and spring came, and all living things came back to life. On the lakeside, new life was born, adding a bit of vitality to the quiet Mishui River. Bai Yi didn't take half a step out of the boat. Day after day, he studied the mysteries of the time restriction without rest. The 3 great restrictions of the mortal world, Yellow Springs, Zhu Immortal, and time restriction, each of them had tens of millions of changes. They were beyond the scope of human control. They were abilities bestowed by the heavens. Ji Ming was good at scheming and had outstanding intelligence. However, it wasn't easy to control the time restriction. Cough cough, suppressed coughs sounded in the gaily painting boat. Knowing Destiny State, who had been working day and night, began to feel weak. He was already injured, so how could he bear such exhaustion? However, Ji Ming, who had always been calm, couldn't wait any longer after 30 years. The backlash from a forbidden move was not something that could be resolved in a short period of time. He did not want to wait another 30 years. On the riverside, Lingji would come on time every day to practice her swordsmanship. From the snowfall to the spring rain, she never stopped. Other than practicing the sword, Lingji would always stare blankly at the pleasure boat on the lake, but she didn't dare to disturb him. She knew that her teacher must be doing something very important. After the beginning of spring, in the 5th month, the vitality on the riverside was getting stronger and stronger. The weather was getting warmer, and everywhere was full of vitality. Inside the pleasure boat, the suppressed coughs became more and more frequent, each sound piercing one's heart. Qing Ning looked at the pleasure boat in the middle of the lake and a trace of sadness flashed across her eyes. This time, she hoped that she would not disappoint him again. No matter how strong a person was, there was a limit to how much they could bear. Time and time again, the burden on his shoulders would have crushed anyone else. In the 7th month, the beginning of summer arrived. The lush green trees and the ripples in the lake were mesmerizing. At the center of the lake, specks of strange light rose up. An indescribable power that was difficult for mortals to see changed the world. Everything was arranged, crawling and trembling. The law of time appeared for the first time in the world. On the riverside, Qing Ning looked ahead and was shocked. Was he going to succeed? In the 9th month, the pleasure boat gradually aged and became rusty, showing signs of decay. In front of the pleasure boat, Sui stepped out. Her aura was extremely weak, but her eyes were unprecedentedly bright. Strange patterns crisscrossed the world. With every step Ji Ming took, the sea turned into mulberry fields and the ripples dissipated. It was a short journey from the center of the lake to the riverside, but Ji Ming seemed to have walked for a long time. His body was surrounded by the time restriction and the world changed. At the riverside, the divine tree swayed in the wind. Ji Ming raised his hand and merged the last of his strength into the yellow spring restriction. When the restriction merged, time and space changed. In the space of the restriction, time flew and accelerated the growth of the divine tree. Qing Ning's expression changed. She was about to step forward when she was stopped. Sister Qing Ning, let me finish. I used the forbidden technique of the life scroll. I can't keep my strength. Ning Chen smiled tiredly. He looked at the divine tree and said calmly, it's worth it to use this strength in exchange for the growth of the divine tree of immortality. If the divine tree bears fruit, it's useless for me to keep this strength. I'm tired. I don't want to walk anymore. But, Qing Ning looked anxious. He only had less than 100 years of life left. If he lost all his cultivation, there would be no turning back. If the ghost girl comes back to life, Ji Ming will have no regrets after 100 years, Ning Chen said softly. Qing Ning's eyes were dazed. Then they dimmed and she didn't say anything more. Perhaps it was time for him to take a break. In the restriction, time flowed and the divine tree grew faster. The vitality of the divine tree grew stronger and stronger. Boundless spiritual qi was faintly discernible. 9,000 years was no longer so unattainable. Half an hour later, Ning Chen put down his right hand and looked at the divine tree in front of him. The tiredness on his face became clearer. Sister Qing Ning, let's go, Ning Chen said. Where to? Qing Ning came back to her senses and asked in confusion. Home, Ning Chen replied softly. Before leaving, he took one last look at the divine tree. There was a trace of tiredness and a trace of hope. When he came again, he hoped that everything would end. He was really tired. In the divine prefecture, more than 30 years had passed since the battle of sending off the gods. The divine prefecture had regained its former prosperity. The people lived in peace and gradually forgot the hardships of the past. The disaster of the divine prefecture didn't affect the divine prefecture. After Chao Tianqi broke the boundary of the Pluto King with the power of one star, martial arts flourished in the divine prefecture. The innate stage and the three disasters appeared frequently. However, because it hadn't been long, no one could step into the celestial realm. The Xia dynasty, the northern Meng dynasty, and the barbarian dynasty had become stronger after recuperating. Wise emperors that were hard to come by in 100 years appeared in the three dynasties. Qi, Mingyu, and the crown prince of the barbarian dynasty had all become emperors. Few people could compare to them. No one took the initiative to break the balance of power between the three dynasties. Although the three dynasties had reached their peak, the emperors of the three dynasties all tacitly chose not to invade each other. The people experienced a rare period of peace. In the imperial city of the Xia dynasty, in the princess residence, in the herb garden, a beautiful figure was concentrating on organizing the herbs in the garden. The most beautiful princess of the Xia dynasty was still unparalleled in the world after 30 years. On this day, the morning sun was bright and beautiful. In the princess residence, a plain-clothed figure walked over. His expression was unprecedentedly peaceful. You're back. Seeing the person, Xia Xinyu stood up and said. Yes. Ning Chen nodded and smiled. He said softly, I've finished my business. According to the agreement, I've come back to marry you. Hearing this, a brilliant smile appeared on Xia Xinyu's beautiful face. It was so dazzling that it was like 100 flowers blooming. It was so beautiful that it was intoxicating. Chapter 761. In the Weiyang Palace of the Great Xia Imperial Palace, Qing Ning walked over. Looking at the decorations and scenes in the palace, tears filled her eyes. Unknowingly, 30 years had passed, and the scenery in Weiyang Palace had not changed much. Miss Qing. Palace maids and eunuchs came forward and bowed respectfully. No need to be so polite. Continue with your work. Qing Ning came back to her senses and said. Yes. The palace maids and eunuchs accepted the order and continued with their work. Qing Ning walked toward Zhangsun Palace and opened the door. The familiar scene entered her eyes. It had not changed, but the people had changed. In the palace, a fist-sized luminous pearl gave off a gentle glow. It was a gift from Zhangsun Palace, and it was still in its original position. Qing Ning could no longer hold back the tears in her eyes. Drop by drop, they dripped down, drenching her cold clothes. An hour later, the door opened, and Qing Ning walked out and walked toward the Heavenly Mandate Hall. The Heavenly Mandate Hall was the sacred hall that represented the highest authority in the Great Xia Empire. The Emperor of the Great Xia Empire sat on the dragon throne. The child had grown up, and he had surpassed his ancestors. In front of the dragon throne, the table was filled with memorials from the various officials of the Great Xia Empire. As the Great Xia Empire grew stronger, there were more and more people with evil intentions. It was impossible to have absolute peace in every era. Be it a prosperous era or a war, as long as there were people, there would be darkness. On the dragon throne, Xia Qi frowned from time to time. He wrote down one by one and carefully read each memorial. Below, Qing Ning walked over and looked at the young emperor on the dragon throne. She waited quietly and did not make a sound. In the darkness, when the dark dragon guards saw her, they hid themselves again. The hall was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Xia Qi's body suddenly shook, and he looked up at the lady in the hall. His eyes were filled with shock. Aunt Qing, why are you here? Xia Qi quickly put down the memorial and brush in his hands and walked down the dragon throne. There's something I need to tell you, said Qing Ning with a gentle smile. Aunt Qing, please say it. Qi, will do as you say, Xia Qi replied seriously. Prepare for the marriage between your master and Aunt Jiu, Qing Ning said. Xia Qi was shocked when he heard this. His face was full of disbelief. There's no need to doubt it. It's true. Your master came back for this matter, said Qing Ning calmly. Xia Qi suppressed the waves in his heart and nodded with difficulty. This was too shocking. Do we need to inform Northern Meng and the barbarian dynasty? Xia Qi thought for a moment and asked hesitantly. Qing Ning nodded and said, send someone to deliver the invitation. Aunt Qing, why did Master and Aunt Jiu change their minds? Didn't Master and Aunt Jiu reject this marriage? Xia Qi couldn't help but ask. There's not much time left. Your master and Xi and you don't wish to leave behind any regrets. Qing Ning sighed softly. 3 days later, in the royal palace of the Northern Meng royal court, the invitation card from Great Xia arrived. When Mingyu saw the invitation, shock and disbelief flashed across her delicate face. Purple crystal. Mingyu passed the invitation to the person beside her and said with a complicated expression, he's getting married. Purple crystal took the invitation, glanced at it, and said softly, Your Majesty, are you going? Yes. Mingyu nodded and said, get ready. The wedding will be in a month. We have to leave as soon as possible. Your Majesty, you can't. A young figure walked into the hall and stopped her. Lord Ling, you entered the hall without a summons. Aren't you looking down on me? Mingyu said indifferently from the dragon throne. This subject doesn't dare. However, Your Majesty's body is priceless. How can you personally go to such a dangerous place like the Grand Xia's imperial city? Ling Xiao knelt. Oh. Mingyu narrowed her eyes and said, it seems Lord Ling already knows what happened. I didn't expect Lord Ling's news to be even faster than mine. It's my duty. I just didn't have time to report it, said Ling Xiao. Lord Ling, do you think the Grand Xia's Jiming Marquis will harm me? Mingyu's tone gradually turned cold. Ling Xiao's heart sank and he immediately lowered his head. I don't dare. Everyone knew that Mingyu had a close relationship with the Grand Xia's Jiming Marquis. They could even be said to be half teacher and half friend. Even in Northern Meng, no one dared to say anything bad about the Marquis. In these 30 years, the Marquis was the true reason why Northern Meng and the Grand Xia could coexist peacefully. Mingyu looked at the kneeling figure. After a long while, she said calmly, this trip to the Grand Xia will be arranged by you. I don't want to see any mistakes. Do you understand? Yes. Ling Xiao bowed his head and replied. You can leave. Mingyu waved her hand. This subject will take his leave. Ling Xiao accepted the order, got up, and left. Why did Your Majesty let Lord Ling arrange this? Aren't you worried that he won't say what he thinks? Xiling asked worriedly. He doesn't have the guts. A cold smile flashed across Mingyu's face. The 10 great families have withered and the Ling family has grown. However, as long as there's someone who can keep the Ling family in check, there's nothing to worry about. Your Majesty, are you talking about the Empress? Xiling thought for a while before asking. Mingyu nodded. You should know her identity. With the Wang family, it's enough to keep the Ling family in check. I think the Wang family also knows the value of their existence. They have always been clear about their position and have always opposed the Ling family. Then this time. Xiling said worriedly. The Empress is the Empress of Beimeng, so she naturally has to go. Let her prepare, Mingyu said calmly. Xiling nodded, but she was still unable to suppress the worry in her eyes. The enmity between the Empress and the Marquis was not something that could be explained in a few words. She hoped that there wouldn't be any trouble this time. At the same time, in the Barbarian dynasty's imperial palace, the invitation from the Grand Xia arrived. Man's eldest brother, the current king of the Barbarian dynasty, had an ugly expression when he saw the invitation. After thinking for a long time, Manqiu didn't dare to make a decision on his own. He looked at the attendant beside him and said, "Immediately send this invitation to the Grand King's palace." Yes. Attendant Wang accepted the order, took the invitation, and quickly walked out of the hall. A quarter of an hour later, a loud bang rang out in the Grand King's palace. Furious and uncontrollable killing intent surged out, destroying all the decorations in the hall. The next moment, an imposing and domineering figure walked out. It was the previous barbarian king who had stepped down from the throne. With one step, the barbarian king's figure disappeared and rushed towards the north. In the quiet night, Ning Chen stood quietly in the courtyard of the Jiming Marquis residence. He looked towards the south. According to the time, that person should be arriving soon. Just as he was thinking, a powerful pressure came from the imperial palace. The unusually domineering aura was many times stronger than 30 years ago. Great perfection. Ning Chen murmured softly. He was indeed worthy of being called the twin prides with his predecessor. This barbarian king, or the Grand Barbarian King, was likely to be the first person in the divine prefecture to break through to the celestial realm. The arrival of the barbarian king shocked everyone. They all looked towards the direction of the Jiming Marquis residence, unable to hide their shock. In the Weiyang Palace, Qing Ning walked out and looked into the distance. Her eyes flashed. She couldn't intervene in this matter. Only Ning Chen could solve it himself. In the imperial palace, a marquis walked out. Looking at the powerful figure rushing towards the Jiming Marquis residence, he frowned slightly. The previous barbarian king's action was really too disrespectful to the Grand Xia. This is not something we can intervene in. Let's leave it to that person. Not far away, a marquis who stayed in the imperial palace walked out. He looked forward and said calmly. In the backyard of the Jiming Marquis residence, the barbarian king arrived. Without saying a word or asking a question, he raised his hand and attacked. Ning Chen leaned slightly to the side and avoided the attack. Immediately, he clenched his left hand. In the study, a bright red sword flew out. It was sparkling and dazzling. The sword was in his hand. With a clang, a sharp light overflowed. The aftermath shook. In the backyard of the Marquis residence, the Netherworld seal was activated. It blocked the overflowing aftermath and confined the destructive power to 100 feet. Barbarian King, violence can't solve the problem. Why don't we sit down and talk? After exchanging a few blows, Ning Chen, who had lost his foundation, focused on defense. He didn't want to fight head-on. What's there to talk about with an ungrateful person like you? The barbarian king couldn't suppress his anger. He turned his palm into a fist. Rumbling sounds echoed. Within 100 feet, the sky and earth were turned upside down. Waves of dust rolled and covered the battlefield. Ning Chen sighed in his heart. His eyes gradually became firm. He didn't dodge anymore and said calmly, "Excuse me." With that, Ning Chen's sword changed. He took a step and leaped forward. He changed from defense to offense. Under the night, the sword moved gracefully. Even without the support of his foundation, it was still sharp and unparalleled. Under the night sky, the godly power and the peak of the sword clashed. Rumbling sounds echoed, but they were all confined in the netherworld seal. Within 100 feet, there was a clear boundary between hell and the mortal world. Within 100 feet, the earth and sky were destroyed. Outside of that, it was peaceful. Dragon shaking heaven tower. After exchanging a few blows, the barbarian king was furious. He waved his left arm and activated his godly power. His true yuan gathered around him and he punched. The move was shocking. Its power was unparalleled. Ning Chen's figure was like an illusion. He dodged the attack and the sword light swept out. With a loud rumble, the aftermath spread out. The netherworld seal shook. After a moment, it calmed down. In the waves of sand, a silhouette flashed past. The sword broke the waves. Bang! The iron fist blocked the sharp sword. A drop of vermilion fell. Then, a powerful force shook out and forced the former back. Your cultivation has actually weakened to such an extent. Surprise flashed in the barbarian king's eyes. After a moment, he was once again suppressed by his anger. He used a powerful move, determined to get justice for a man. Ning Chen took a few steps back and stabilized himself. His eyes calmed down again as he calmly looked at the incoming killing move. Behind him was the netherworld seal. He couldn't retreat. The moment the move arrived, the silhouette avoided a vital point and took the punch head-on. At the same time, the sword in her hand moved forward and pointed at her throat. With a loud rumble, the fist energy penetrated her body, bringing with it a waterfall of blood. The silhouette leaned against the netherworld seal and didn't retreat a single step. "Senior Barbarian King, can we talk now?" Ning Chen endured the injury on his chest and spoke slowly. He was so close that he was barely an inch away from him. "You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.